hope Bryn doesn't come in naked.
I hope he does.
All right, guys, we're live. We're still trying to get together here, but I figured we start up now, and as people hop in, they can join us, and we'll kind of just hang out until we're ready to roll.
What's
So-
up, peoples?
So what's
What's
going
crack
on?
lagging, my dudes and gals?
So we don't really have much of an agenda, and you can't even see me right now because I'm off screen eating. I'm a big fat ass.
Yeah, he just got home from work, so
Yeah, I just got home from work on just finishing another webinar.
Are we live
Yeah,
yet, guys?
we're totally live.
we're
Press all
live.
you want.
We're not,
Press all you want. Brent, if you
All
could
right.
drop the first F-bomb, that'd be great.
Oh, you know what? I'm in denial. I don't think that's ever happened.
I have it on tape.
Don't you fucking lie to me.
I use your F-bombs in my private moments. That and that picture of you with that makeshift loincloth. That was great.
Wish we could go back to NCTS Orlando days. After
Well,
hearing about Vision shutting down,
Oh, I know.
kind of bummed, man.
It's still
too.
it's still happening. It's just virtual. I don't know if it'll be the same, but
I'm wearing my child's Train by Tech shirt.
Dude, mine was inside out. Brian told me it was inside out. I literally ran home, got changed.
Yeah, I saw the paper back into his embroidery, and I'm like, what? Why? What? Did you put that inside out?
Dude, I ran home. I watched the Bernie video on my way home, totally illegally, playing in my car. Take notes from mine and Rich's rage section segment later. And got home, changed, put my shirt on backwards, and hopped in. Now I'm eating dinner.
So what's the story
how-
behind you being the yo-yo Velociraptor?
Who, me? Oh,
Yeah.
jeez.
Is that your kid's name?
Yeah, that's interesting. I was just on a Zoom, obviously, co-teaching with Brandon, and it did not say that. So you guys said something, and I was so busy buttoning and zipping my pants.
Brent, you don't have to zip your pants.
So
Careful.
wait, you didn't have pants on for your webinar?
Well,
Ooh.
Secrets
I
out.
don't there we go.
So we got 58 people here, just kind of doing a thing. Hi, Drew's in. Hey, Drew, what's going on?
We got a lot of people here.
Yeah, we're doing stuff.
So, don't we have somebody coming on to share a little something with us?
I think I'm trying to get Hans Jorgensen to join us. He's,
Hans hands?
yeah, Hans.
Hands on hands.
Hands on
hands.
It-
That would be a fun event. Hands on hands.
Ooh, giggity. That sounds slightly gay, and I like it.
I was gonna ask, with a name like Hans, and well, I guess it's not Hans. I mean, have you guys ever heard of another person named Hans before?
Yes, I used to work for Hans.
Well, Hans, but not
And it
Hans.
was
I'm saying Hans. Unless he's just lying to us. He's probably lying to us.
Probably.
I was gonna say,
Honestly, I
Yeah.
think it's best because that's probably the way you should say that name. If it's
He
Hans,
likes-
it's gonna have an O. I mean,
No, it's supposed to. It's pronounced
or
Hans.
an H maybe.
yeah. Every time I've met anyone, it's pronounced Hans.
I know, but
He likes
it's like
Hans.
it's like backwards. So.
Yeah. Well, it's German, I think, primarily.
So
So
this is what we call filling time, right?
he likes Volkswagens, primarily like Hitler era Volkswagens. He just sent his family to Germany.
You remember
Dude.
the raccoon thing?
Hold on, remember the raccoon thing.
Oh Lord.
Maybe we shouldn't talk about it. Maybe we should let him talk about the wreck.
We shall not.
I'm just wondering if maybe we should ask him if he's got any family
So-
members that are war criminals.
So I see Justin Kidd in the chat. Justin, you may want to shut your ears in a little bit because I'm gonna say some shit.
Hey, it's Molesky. What's up, Molesky?
Hey,
Well, has he not confirmed that he's coming on or what?
He's probably at
Um,
fucking Hobby
I-
Lobby.
Hans? Yeah, I think he's trying. I'm not sure.
Hans hands?
Oh, trying's not good.
Not confirmed. I asked him to join us this afternoon, so he hasn't had time to prepare. So my fault, but that's the way we do things around here. We don't prepare. We just kind of throw it together and make the best of it.
You know it.
So
I was waiting for Falco. When's he going to get here?
He's doing CTI.
Yeah, he
CTI's
should be here
done.
any minute.
Oh.
Well, the class is just like your class. Sometimes they run late. Fortunately, he's not the teacher either, so he's co-teaching tonight.
My classes leave early. What are you talking about?
Well, I say that because tonight you said I might be late. Depends on how much I get through by 9 or something. So, yeah.
No, tonight's a good vent night. That's what we're gonna do.
I already vented.
You already vented?
Yeah.
No, that's a different kind of venting.
Oh,
Thank God you're.
Tommy, you had anything interesting this week?
Tommy wasn't listening.
Well,
did you hear us?
Anything interesting this week, bud?
I'm working on a couple possible case studies for next week, so nothing concrete yet. I'm still fighting a good fight. Has anybody here had any play dates?
Oh yeah, that was the homework.
Yeah, it was homework. We gentleman Michael Whitman actually showed up at the shop, man.
How'd that go?
Man, it was a good time, man. We had a really good diag. I almost blew up a PCM. Thanks a lot.
Were you using a power probe?
Yes, sir. What the hell did we do? Oh, we flashed a Chrysler product, and what else? Oh, and we cut some keys. So yeah, it was pretty good day. We had some breakfast too.
Nice.
Good
Heck
job.
yeah.
So you had a great play day, and it's always awesome when you can almost break something. I've legit just broken things.
I've never broken anything, ever.
Lies.
Or cat on fire or anything.
Yeah, no, it was we were doing a no CMP signal at PCM for what was it, an 04 Yukon, and I go, hey man, this ground something's wrong with this power feed. It's a ground. So I powered it to see if I get the sensor to work, and it was on the wrong. It was the wrong lead.
Why does this breaker keep blowing on my power probe?
Maybe I need a bigger wire.
Yep.
Tommy wanted to start welding.
Sweet.
That's
about to weld that PCM.
That's why I got the power probe hook. It's got a 65 amp breaker. So if I'm gonna break something,
you're gonna really burn it up, man. We're gonna get another video out of that.
Because hey, Brian, I missed it today. What was that Mercedes you were working on?
I had a wheel speed sensor issue. It ended up being I'll start over. This was an issue that this customer has been having for 5 years, and just now decided to have it looked at. And I go ahead and I scan the vehicle, and there's like, as usual, there's 40, 50 codes that this Mercedes has. I can't make any sense of what's going on as far as getting a direction of diagnostics, judging by the codes that it has. And I ended up talking to the customer, and he tells me that every time that he's backing up his vehicle and then turns his steering wheel all the way to the right, the lights come on. I'm like, okay, that kind of makes sense. It sounds like a wheel speed sensor issue or something like that. So what I ended up doing was clearing all of the codes and then doing exactly what he told me to do. And then sure enough, I had a left front wheel speed sensor that had dropped out, and I was able to duplicate it on the lift and make sense out of all these codes this thing had. It sounds like a fairly simple diagnostics, but with that huge list of codes, how do you narrow those down to figure out, to have some type of direction where to go to? It was kind of tough in the beginning.
That sounds like all European diagnostic work to me.
You gotta erase everything and then just see what comes back.
Honestly, when you put up that list of codes, I went, "Oh, that's not bad."
Hey, Falco.
I said to myself, "Chase the wheel speed sensor, and you're done."
Yeah.
But anyway, sorry, Chris.
Hey, Falco. I bet you've never heard anybody say this. I've been saving myself for you.
Oh jeez.
What?
I watched that last case study, or most of it.
What did you think?
I'm angry, and we're going to talk about it.
Again, no one would diagnose it that way. No one would.
Well, do you want to start over? Because I ranted on this a couple weeks ago, and I was left hanging. Somebody else has turned to rant a little bit.
We're left hanging.
I will.
You asked.
I will talk a little bit about this because
Please.
I just have to watch. I said it in my class last night. I said, what did I say? I went on a rant about unnecessary testing, and I said some of you guys are going to get burned out there, or you're going to feel the burn or something like that. I was like, ugh.
So the point is, let's go back to the rant I was on. Case studies being done. How can I say this?
For the pure...
To tell a story. To tell a story, not to sell a tool.
Yeah.
So let's talk. Your turn. Sorry,
Well,
Brandon. You can go. You can go. This is gonna be that kind of. This is gonna be that kind of thing. Cat's out of the bag. Oh, we lost Rich. Did he go away?
No, I'm here.
Right
Oh,
there.
there you are. There you are. So, your turn.
Me?
Yeah, let's talk.
Oh, I don't even know where to start. Like, that's the problem with the rant, and what do I add to it is I really think it's given some guys the wrong idea that all of that testing is the only way you can diagnose it. And what frustrates me is he talks about you've got to have a logical approach. Well, logically, we wouldn't go that way. It just
Oh,
how do I even start with bringing
So
up the cylinder marks on the grounds? Like, would you really go there? Would you really think that? I don't know.
well, I mean, if we're I think we need to be careful to call specific people out personally. But if we're going to, then we need to talk details about the case that we're talking about.
So let's do it. All right. I want to start with the one from a couple weeks
enemies
ago.
with him?
I don't think we do.
I'm not. No, because you know what? This isn't about making enemies. This is about helping the industry, and that's what we're all about. So case studies are supposed to serve a purpose. They're to teach you a lesson and keep you interested. Correct? Am I wrong in that?
Yeah. You better take something
Okay.
home with you at least, you know.
You know
All right.
what? And here would be my point. If Bernie put out every single video and said, "Here's an example of what my tools can do," hands off. Okay, it's a commercial. Just tell us that, you know, because it's not a case study; it's a commercial.
So let's go back a couple weeks ago. Did anybody look at the Volkswagen video he did?
I did. I watched that.
Okay, so I have something to say about this because that's kind of what I do or used to do. I have no problem with the end result. It's how you get there. All right. In the video, and I'm sorry this is making everybody uncomfortable. I'm sorry if it's going to burn bridges. It needs to be said, otherwise it'll keep on going on. And that's what
we can call him out.
No, but that's what this group was formed on.
But there's ways of doing things and doing it this way without without trying to open a dialogue or something, or approaching it on the platform it was put on. I don't know. I mean, I'll let you know.
I really wanted to comment on Diag.net on these videos, but it's 17 comments of "great job, thanks for sharing, that's amazing," and I'm like, I'm going to be the one guy who goes, couldn't you have looked at fuel trims or whatever, you know?
So right. So let's go back to that Volkswagen run. All right. Honestly, his skill in identifying patterns in diagnostics unparalleled. Give him that. He's a super genius. All right.
Oh, yeah.
Granted, and he has a tool to sell because that's how he makes part of his money. Got it. Understand it. Believe me, I understand that. But here's the thing. In the video, he said one test informed the other. All right. When he went right from his generic scan tool, all right, right into hooking up a scope for a was it a misfire or a time? I forget exactly what it was. But in that, he checked cam, crank, in cylinder, and cam adjuster, and then there was another one because there was a fifth in there somewhere like that. Great, awesome things, but the diagnosis You don't start by doing that. So what we're taught by doing by taking all this training, and I think it's very smart. What we're taught is to do logical diagnostics. That is very, very important. Um, and again, I'm all about scoping all the things. I love scoping the things. That's what I love that. But at no point does it pay on a lot of vehicles to go right for in cylinder the first thing. It for a timing problem. No, you got to do some basic testing to get there. You know what I'm saying?
There was a case study today, and you know what? We could bring up this case study today. There's a case study today on Facebook where the guy says, "I got a Dodge Journey with a PO300 that sets as soon as you start the car up. I went in cylinder. Here's bank 1 and bank 2. What do you think?"
Like, what led you to that process?
And that's what I said. I said, "Why are you looking at timing?
Yeah.
Because what's the fuel trims? What are the oxygen sensors doing?" And I asked all these questions, and the thing was in time. I mean, it wasn't out of time, so I don't know why it was even there.
So that proves that again, that goes to kind of my point.
Yeah.
There was nothing wrong with the tests that were being performed. They were being performed correctly. However, they were done. You could tell that this case study was being done. The video was being done after it was diagnosed, which is fine. We all do it. Okay, that's how it is. You don't want to look like an idiot on camera. You know, look that's a peek behind the curtain. All right, we all get our ass kicked on cars. All right, but if you're going to present a case study as a case study and as a learning experience, then you have to follow that logical way of thinking. Because now what you have done is your position as someone of authority and who knows what they're talking about, and he knows what he's talking about. He is a super genius. As I said, all props. I go blank when I listen to him because he's so smart. All right, but when you use that position, you have to be careful on how you disseminate your information. And so you're taking somebody that knows and has been told by everybody that I need to watch what this guy does. And then all of a sudden that the lesson that can be taken from that is I get a code, I do zero scan tool testing, zero bidirectional testing. I go right to in cylinder, pulse sensors, cam and crank, do all these things. But the problem is what are you getting from that? You have to get there. All right, and and what I've seen in a trend in a lot of these Facebook posts and the whole proliferation of pulse sensors and in cylinder, people go there first, and you should.
Did you just say you agreed with Richard Falco?
I agree that there needs to be a procedure to be done.
a diagnostic process. Let one test lead you to the next.
Exactly.
And
so
that didn't happen.
exactly. So I agree. So the video, it was a commercial disguised as a case study. Which, yes, I get that. But in that, you can't say in that video one test led to the next, because that didn't happen. And if it did, it happened off camera. So what I'm saying is it's really, you need to use your position as an industry leader responsibly, because people are listening to you. And it's dangerous and irresponsible to do things that way. Rich, what do you say?
I agree. I mean, you know, I'm not as familiar with the Volkswagen case study, but the following week was the Infiniti case study, and it was more of the same. It was not the logical diagnostic procedure I would follow. It just didn't make sense to me how we went about that.
So, Bryn, now that we made you extremely uncomfortable.
You know, I mean, I don't disagree at all. I think that peer review is very important, and that's kind of, you know, if you guys all recall when Diag.net was, you know, first launched, that was what we, you know, we were hoping that we were going to be able to do throughout Diag.net. And I mean, the same thing happens in Facebook. It's all about peer review. So if you see bullshit, then I think it is important to call bullshit. It's just, and you know, I didn't watch either.
I don't want to say bullshit. You know,
Okay. I mean, I guess maybe it was the wrong word, but if you see an agenda that you don't think, like if Chris was saying, he doesn't think that he used his position of power appropriately. He thinks that knowing that there's tools to be sold, that's really the agenda, not necessarily to teach a diagnostic process. And I don't disagree that that peer review is important. So if we see something like that, then it needs to be commented on. I just don't know that it's the right place here. I think that if we were to be more vague and bring up um, that fact that peer review is important. If you see something, a Facebook post where a case, somebody's trying to basically flex their muscles, you need to call them out. Not necessarily call them out, but ask him, steer them through, some comments. Hopefully others will be watching and learn from it. Same can be said for Diag.net, IETN, or whatever the case may be. That's all
us.
I'm saying. Yeah, same with us.
If we present a case study that's wrong, or
And then it happens in a chat. Like if we're producing a video, then somebody has a question
no,
about
it doesn't. No, it's right on Facebook. I've been called out before in one of my videos.
When I say it's chat, is we see it at YouTube comments or we see it at Facebook. It happens. Yeah, I mean it should. I think that it should. I just
But that's what I mean. We're about a lot of things, and one of the things we got started on is some of our frustrations in the industry. And this, I'm seeing a trend, and I'm frustrated. And I think that work needs to be done to fix it. And sometimes if you gotta, call bullshit or get ugly or get in somebody's face, sometimes you have to. And if it leads to the conversation that leads to change, I'm cool with that. And call me the asshole.
It's a fine line. I mean, I don't really follow Facebook much anymore, but thinking back of when I was following some of the groups a little more, and IETN and Diag.net, certainly when you're behind a keyboard, it can be easier. So I think to some degree, people get just nasty and stupid about it. But I think that I agree there's a responsibility. If you see somebody potentially steering someone in the wrong direction, then something has to be said. But again, I was not uncomfortable saying that. I just don't know that this was the right platform to be as specific. But that's just me.
I like PJ's comment. With all that said, we all have a different diagnostic approach. Showing a diagnostic approach is a net positive, don't you think? Yeah, I would agree with that 100%, PJ. And I said this before, and this is what fed into my my scope things, is I think that sometimes these case studies are look at me or look at what my tool can do, and it gives some guys in the industry the idea that that's the only way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And it's basically, as Chris stated it last week and this week, it's perfectly stated. If you're going to help people with a case study, a diagnostic strategy, a testing technique, an idea, a thought, whatever the case may be, if you're going to be doing something, the true agenda should be to help someone. It shouldn't be to flex my muscles. It shouldn't be to be impressive and seeming intelligent. And it shouldn't be to sell a tool. And it shouldn't be to make sure that you have content for a magazine because you have a deadline to reach. It shouldn't be because you have to build a class and you have to make a point in this class so that you change things to make sure that it fits your agenda for the overall class. It shouldn't be any of those things. It should be, the true agenda should be to help someone. So I don't disagree at all with that. And I think you said it perfectly.
Well, I'm gonna counterpoint you because I work for a company that has to sell shit. But the thing is us here and the greater group that presents these things publicly has built up a brand, right? And if you misuse that brand, if you misuse that clout that you have, that what you built up, you lose all you lose it. You lose the group. So you can sell a tool, but do it the correct way. And I'm not saying I know the correct way. What I'm saying would be the correct way. Tell your story. You can show what your tool can do, but tell the story.
Well, the first part of it is the true agenda has to be to help someone. If in people in your position, you have to have whatever you're producing, the true agenda is to help someone. And if you can do so by highlighting your tool, then
Exactly.
perfect.
Exactly. And that's the point. My issue with I only got to watch 22 or 20 or no, 15 minutes of the Infinity one today, Rich. Um, and great video, awesome video. I loved it, and he was there. The only thing that got me is he said this is the only way to diagnose this car, and there was zero scan data. That is not the only way to diagnose this car. How? Because I've done it. So it's not the only way to diagnose that car.
Yeah.
And just to be clear, I apologize, but I haven't seen the ones you guys are referring to. Watch them.
So Jim Kokonis, so if we see scan tool ads by employees on this channel, should we call it? Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, no, dude,
Yeah.
100%. If it's an ad, it's an ad. If it's showing what your tool can do while doing the job and not saying this is the only way this can get done, then it's a valid video case study, etc. But if you're saying this so and so tool is the only way this can get done on this car, that's disingenuous. I mean, he had an Alto there, perfectly great tool. And I know for a fact that should have had some kind of cam actuator actuations, bi-directional controls on that to actuate that. But no, he chose to use his scope to highlight the function of the function simulator. Cool, not the only way. And you can't say in that video this is the only way you're going to check this. No, he went in cylinder. Like I said, watch these videos. I'm not saying it's horrible material; it's great material. But he went in cylinder to prove a timing problem or prove a phasing issue. All right, he already had the scope there. If you use a scope, you can actually check your phasing with his cam marker tools, and check the phasing of each cylinder by activating on the tool or whatever, and you can check it side to side. I know because I've done it. It can be done. It's not the only way to be done.
So Mike Reynolds brings up a good point. Is Snap-on's intelligent diagnostics could solve all of this for us, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, of course.
No,
of course.
actually, no. Again, PJ. So Chris, in terms of if you had that VW come to you, what would your process be? So how would? It's easy to say this knowing the problem ahead of time, but
honestly, I forget most of it. It was 3 weeks ago, and I forget most of it. But that one was a PO 341, I believe it was, right? It was a cam sensor and probable signal.
A stuck spool valve, I think.
Was it? Okay.
I think
then
so.
that's where I start. All right. So if you want to check your actual versus specified timing, you can check all that. The way I prefer to check it, because honestly, on that particular car, I don't like scan data on that car. It's not live enough. I will scope that car. All right. So what I'll do is I'll scope my cam sensor versus primary ignition on bank one, and then I'll check it from I'll check it and activate it and see if it has actually moved, and I'll see if it moves 60 degrees. And you get the 60 degrees from service information, which again was never listed on the video. Service information, search for that, learn how the system works. You don't need to go in cylinder. It's a wasted test. All right, because on that particular car, to go in cylinder, you got to take the coil out. To get the coil out, you got to disassemble the loom on that car and possibly break it, depending on where the car lives.
Oh, it'll break.
The plastic in it.
It'll definitely break.
You do not need to go in cylinder on that car. You pop the top cover off. You go to pin number 3 on the ignition coil. So you got your sync. You go right into your cam sensor, which is right up top. And if you want, you can put a third channel on the variable valve timing control and sit there and watch it. And then if you want, you can power probe and activate the damn thing and see if it moves. And then you can measure it. And it can be done with all different types of scopes. I know because I've done it. It does not need to be, you don't need to go in cylinder. It's a wasted test. All right. That is not one test informing the other. You could be in and out of that test in under 15 minutes. Mario Rojas did a great video on this exact thing. Watch it. Super Mario Diagnostics. He did a great video on it. Threw a dude a shout out.
Great. Now I got another video I gotta watch.
Yeah.
Well, we probably have some folks joining us here. Maybe we can get some more. Oh, geez.
What?
So we got 112 people watching us rant right now, or watching me look like an asshole.
Chad brings up a good. It's faster to pull the spool valve than to hook up the scope. Pull out the small piece
Exactly.
of screen that's lodged and reinstall, and that's a good point. And that's something that I want to touch on, and it's a point that Jim Kokonis has brought up to me. Is we're going to do 4 hours of testing for a $20 part.
Mhm.
How are we going to get paid for that? And that's another thing that needs to be brought up on the business end of things. Is I think some guys go, well, I gotta scope it, and I gotta go in cylinder, or I gotta do this. I need 3 hours of diag, and the shop owner is going, throw a coil on it. Just throw a coil on it and be done with it. And yes, we want to do those testing, but in the real world, that shop's got to be profitable. The tech needs to be productive, and as much as we want it fixed right the first time, there's the reality of the situation.
But part of that has to fall on the shop owner. And if there's not how many shop owners can you guys think of that teach fairly regularly? And I'm talking good instructors. Can you guys think of any?
Not many.
Scott Manna is one that comes to mind. And if you listen to his classes, that's something he recognizes. What you're mentioning, Richard, is that sometimes it's, if there's a known high failure rate on something, you're not going to spend a ton of time testing it. If it's easy, quick, simple, but that if it doesn't fix it, it really needs to be the shop that takes the hit on it. That doesn't happen. It gets passed off to the clients. And at least in the experiences I've seen, many of us have done work for other shops or mobile work or whatever the case. And Chris, you do tech support, and Richard, you do tech support that comes along with teaching.
Richard works out of a shop with no walls. I haven't figured that
out. And he does that too. The problem is these shops don't take that responsibility. If they try something, it doesn't fix it, it gets passed on to the client. I mean, I don't know. Where does that fall in the?
Well, also needs to be added. At some point, you're gonna have to get dirty. So, Rich, you had a great point, and so did Chad. Yeah, pull the spool out. It's 3 bolts. If it's on an Audi, it's right in the front, and just make sure you don't drop them. If it's on a Volkswagen, try not to break the dipstick tube if it's there, and pull that off. And usually,
so don't touch the dipstick
tube. Yeah. And check if the spool valve sticking out like a Thanksgiving turkey, or at some point that's easier than doing all the diagnostics. On some cars, if it's a Honda Civic, it's easier to swap coils around to check the misfire times. Sorry, it is.
Yeah, absolutely. And Adrian brings up a good point. If it's Euro, just go look for the water.
Yeah, Brian. If it's Euro, just go look for the water. So do we piss everybody off? I think we're still going.
Everybody still likes us. They're still here listening.
No, I don't think.
What other bridge can we burn tonight?
Did we piss off?
See if I can get myself fired.
Did I piss off Jim Kokonis again? That's what I really want to know.
No, not
Jim?
at all. I think that he agrees with an overwhelming majority of what we're saying here, because we've had these discussions.
So. Guys, I'm a blunt ass motherfucker. I said it.
There's a lot of people who have said this was things that needed to be said. So.
Well, and again, that right there is what Trained by Techs was founded on. All right, there are some problems in this industry,
argument.
And then it was an argument, and yeah, but again, there are problems inherent in this industry, and honestly, it's a lot of big dick waving, and we don't need to have that anymore. Let's bring the industry up together. All right, we get you have to sell products, but let's learn together, all together like a pyramid, like this.
Is it one more time?
Oh, yeah, that was so
like
good.
Hold on, Rich. Hold on. Hey, Brian, you can't get just here right there. Or is it like this? How did you go, Rich?
Oh, the
stroke.
The stroke.
Yeah, stroke.
I'm sure Brian has it on standby. Yeah.
Here, hold on. Wait, which one?
Tommy, you okay? Did I make you upset? Still love you.
No, I'm still mad at my cookies.
What happened to your cookies?
These
What?
white Oreos suck.
Oh, white Oreos are trash, man. What are you doing? Which one did you get? The vanilla Oreos?
Yeah.
Did you get vanilla double stuffs?
No.
You vanilla double seltzer. What's up, man?
I'm just trying to watch my figure, but regular Oreos.
Not the thin ones, right?
That was a waste of calories. Nah, man. I'd rather eat graham crackers.
Well, that's
than them
part.
shits.
Tommy's pissed off at his vanilla Oreos.
I wasted my treats for the day, man. Bullshit.
Tommy's legit butthurt.
Fuck yeah.
Hey, it's Chris.
Oh, I get it. What's going
Chris.
on, sir?
Chris, you muted.
There we go. Let's try that.
Whoa.
Oh, good God.
Good shit.
You got to turn your
Is
mic
that-
volume
It's
down or
not,
something.
this ain't a basketball game, home slice.
It's a
Is
library
all
zone.
of- Is that all of your training books in the background?
Yeah.
You are like all kinds of echoey.
Hey, somebody's
Let's
asking,
try
what's,
that.
what
Are you-
Super Mario video were we referring to? Does anybody remember the name of it? Or
No, he did a video.
I'll try
I
to
don't
find
know.
it and put up the link if I can.
Yeah.
Although I don't know what I'm looking for. This oughta-
It was a Volkswagen timing video,
okay. Let's go to Mario.
and he managed to check it without going in cylinder. Surprise.
With all 6 channels.
All right, how's that?
So we're talking about case studies and agendas and this content. What about? Didn't somebody do? Richard, didn't you do a for the record or something on reviews, class reviews or something? Didn't you do something about class reviews?
Oh no, that was a post on Diag.net. That was a rant
Oh.
I went on Diag.net about giving honest reviews. Yeah, I could talk about that even more. If you are in a class and it is a garbage class, say something. And I don't mean yell and argue and call out the instructor. Although if he's wrong, share your opinion. But I could tell you from experience. I've been in classes. There's a guy in the back of the class, and he's like this. And every time I say something, he's and he disagrees with everything I am saying. And I'll tell you right now.
Was that me?
His name is.
Is it?
But you guys are all looking at me. I'm looking at you. I see the faces. I see the expressions. I see if you're paying attention or not. And
This person walks out and doesn't leave a review at all, does he?
well, or I
Give
walk
you
around,
feedback later.
I walk around the class and I pick up those surveys and no one puts their name on it, which is fine. But I will tell you this: that guy who's been making faces all night, his survey is at the top or the bottom. I make sure I know which one it is.
Mhm.
And when everybody's gone, I look and it's 5 stars, 5 stars, 5 stars. Like that does. If I did something wrong in that class, if I shared bad information, you got to tell me. Or you showed up for a class and the name of the class was, the name of the class was VVT, and I spent 4 hours talking about a Mercedes programming issue. Well, then you didn't get what you expected. Like you gotta tell us that. You've got to share that information and give me that feedback. I don't write the CTI classes. I try to contribute as much as I can, but if somebody tells me, you know what, on this car that doesn't apply, that's something I want to share with everybody. That's something I want to be able to go, you know what, we're giving these guys this information and maybe it isn't 100% accurate, and let's update that, and let's give helpful current information. So if you guys don't tell me, or any instructor, don't just yell at me.
Yeah, but we almost need to teach people how to. I mean, the trend is just 5 stars and no comments, and we don't learn anything from it. But we also need to teach people how to leave reviews, right? Because I think as we grow and we learn more and more, we might give negative reviews that aren't appropriate.
It's embarrassing sometimes to write something on there though. In my experience, you're like,
Well,
But
I
you
don't
gotta
know.
give
I
it's
don't
got
want
to
to.
be.
the
I don't want to
class
be
is
that
bad.
guy. You know.
Give
If the
give
class
them
is
something.
bad, but some people would say, I don't know, the feedback. I mean, you've had enough feedback to where it's like, give me a break, right? I mean, you've seen most of it's positive, and people just burn through it like a Christmas tree, right? But you've also had feedback. It's like, come on, man, this wasn't that class. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Or
yeah. But
so.
So
we can like I can realize that if the feedback uh is just not appropriate, I can say to myself, okay, he didn't get what he wanted or what he expected out of it, but that's still feedback. That's still, maybe he showed up for that class and it was marketed as this and it
Yeah.
wasn't. My first class for CTI, I was sent to Jackson, Mississippi to teach a Cummins class. I am not a Cummins expert. I knew that class inside and out. Uh, but when I got there were 20 guys who all worked at the local rail yard. And to them, Cummins engine was this teeny tiny little piece of crap that they put in the bottom as a generator. And here I am talking about how great and powerful the Cummins are, and they hate that thing. And those guys came to that class expecting something different. And here I am teaching a diesel class, which is really marketed to the gas guys. It's really a, hey, here's diesel, don't be afraid of it, for the gas guys. And these are hardcore diesel guys that didn't get what they wanted out of it. And that's
Yeah.
because that's all the salesperson invited. He didn't
That's.
realize what his market was. So
I
Jim,
guess maybe a better thing to say. Go ahead.
Jim says I have great reviews because I write them all myself. Thank you.
I was gonna say, if I can hop in here real quick, I think a big part of it is when somebody doesn't get what they want out of a class, or doesn't think they got out of what they wanted out of the class, is, especially when you're getting into newer topics they may not be familiar with, topics they're not super comfortable with. They don't know what they don't know, and they don't know why they're not understanding it. So you're kind of sitting there going, hey, this class wasn't all that great, but you can't really put into words why. So a lot of people just default to the fact that maybe it's me. Maybe this teacher's awesome. Maybe this class is awesome. And I'm just not understanding it. And people are always scared to look stupid, which is why I'll ask every stupid question in the book. I don't care.
Well, I looked plenty stupid tonight, didn't I?
No.
No,
I've done worse, Chris.
So maybe the thing is, like you were saying, you can kind of see if they're just off base, they're out of line, their reviews. But how often do you see like low marks with no comments? Are you muted?
Not a lot. Not a
Oh.
lot. Can you hear me?
Oh, okay. I can hear now. Yeah.
Occasionally, yeah.
And maybe the thing is, I'm kind of all I can reference really. I don't know. All I can reference really is just hearing the talk in the hallway. I can't. I don't look at the reviews. I mean, in the classes that I've done, I don't think I've ever handed out reviews, which maybe makes somebody mad at me now by saying that. But all I can reference is hearing things in the class, and sometimes, I mean, it's not uncommon to hear people say stuff, and it's like, come on, man, that really wasn't what the class is about. It was obvious in the title, and sometimes it's appropriate. Like, yeah, that class was not good, but I mean, for sometimes the events that we've gone to as technicians grow and they get better, they're still looking for that aha moment. I hear that all the time. These events not as good as they used to be. I think it's because we've gotten better, and it's harder to get that wow moment in some cases.
That diminishing returns, or the first time you go to training, you're blown away by it, and then the second and third time, there's you've learned to learn, and you've caught up a lot, and there aren't going to be as many of those aha moments anymore. So yeah, I think we're some of the worst people to please because we've just gone to so much.
Well,
To be completely fair, if you're teaching a class from 2002 with slides that were literally marked from 2014 and 2020, people are okay to say some shit about your material. It's okay. Moving on.
I mean,
Well,
if the material is still relevant, I
It
think
doesn't matter what year if the approach is still viable. But
Which, yeah, that kind of goes back to what you guys were talking about before, the overall approach, the tooling, whatever. One of the things I've struggled with is when I go to make a video or go to present a case study or whatever, what do I use? You know, I may have used this scan tool, this whatever. Could I have done it 6 different ways? Absolutely. I think Scanner Danner is one of the people who goes through, and I think pretty much every video is 5, 6, 7 different ways to diagnose something. And there are times I had a 2019 Chevy C5500 in today for a drivability complaint, right? Snap-on, can ID it. Texa, can ID it. Basically, the only tool to use at that point would have been the NDI2 and then the dual subscriptions to do medium duty, everything else. Is that the only way you could have done it? No, I mean, you could have plumbed low pressure fuel gauge in there. You could have done the whole thing without scanner, but you know, it's always that hard point. What tooling do you have? What tooling are you presenting things with? And how much can you really walk people around it while still being efficient? And it's tough. You know, I don't want to sit there and be a Texas spokesperson because there's a lot of holes. Same with Snap-on, Autel, Launch, OEM tools. I'm coming from Deere OEM. You want to talk about the most garbage factory tool you will ever use.
You have not used SDD, sir.
Yeah.
Falco says that either him or Fonzlo says that either him or Falco getting 5 stars is a lie. He also says yeah, he also says that he could come on.
I write myself. I don't give myself 5.
You got to be realistic, right? It's got to be
exactly. It's a 3. You know.
I do. I'm a goddamn superstar.
Says he could also come on and talk about programming a chainsaw.
Oh, that Husqvarna thing was actually really cool.
That's old news. Steel started doing that like 5, 6 years ago.
There's
Once
nothing
again,
more
Husky following Steel.
There's nothing ever more aggravating than using SDD. Oh, I hate that tool so bad. What's wrong with your car? I don't know. That's why I'm here. What the fuck?
Well, I mean,
It's because you literally hit them literally on the head. Choose from these options. What do you think's wrong with the car? That's your job.
It's a fucking Land Rover. That's what the problem is.
Is there a button to find the water? I don't know. Oh, so yeah, guys, this is a different kind of show that you're watching tonight. I'm blaming Bryn and Dustin.
I'm blaming you guys. When I jumped on and asked if we were live, you said no.
Surprise!
I've been talking for 15 minutes thinking this is behind the scenes. Oops.
We're basically alcohol.
Hey, Dusty's gonna stop drinking. He's listening to us.
So Jim said something interesting in the chat, and I'm only halfway listening because I got so many things going on. It says, still teaching countermeasures we learned to diagnose pre-OBD cars as essential diagnostic fix of the gods is a disservice to newer techs. Thank you.
Yeah.
I agree.
I agree 100%.
Mm-hmm.
I feel offensed. Sorry, Adrian. I feel offensed every time I have to open that hunk of junk.
Well, don't worry. It'll update in the middle of a programming. You know, because STD.
You should have called it STD.
That's what I was gonna say. It's too close to STD, man.
It feels like it too.
Yeah.
How do you know?
You get burned every time you use it.
Oh God. So did we have anything else to talk about tonight?
Well, I mean, we did. We started talking about it. We started talking about play dates. But Richard, you were about to say something.
Billy Yoder brought up a comment. I just want to hear your guys' feedback on. Techs should look at training courses as a seminar. These are really not training classes. CTI, ATG, etc., are really just seminars. Realistically, they are not training classes. A class includes a student.
Huh?
there's some truth to what he's saying. I get what he's going at. I'm just.
Are you saying like a class is supposed to be kind of two ways?
I would hope my classes are two ways. I hope it's just not me up there talking for 4 hours or whatever. I was in a class today with David Patrick, and one of the guys commented, and I learned something today. So I'm not sure. I would love for Billy Yoder to explain.
Well, it's interesting point. I just listened to Chris Cloutier and somebody else was on they did like an episode and they talked about language, and they talked about training might be an inappropriate, may not be the most appropriate term that we could use, but I don't know.
Do we have any case studies, or are we just going to complain about everybody?
Well, we're waiting for Hans, but Hans.
Hans had something
like these hands,
and then we gave him like an hour notice.
No, he had a day. He had a full-on day.
No,
it's not like he had to work.
No. It was not a day. I asked him today at like 3.
Yeah, but
3
it was
o'clock
like
your
fucking
time.
4 o'clock in the morning over there.
Oh God.
Oh, Lord.
I would still like to just get him on just so we can talk. I love that guy. People need to talk to Hans on.
Oh yeah.
He's freaking genius. What's going on in that dude's brain? Nobody will ever know.
I haven't talked to him enough, really, but I can say that he definitely thinks differently. Chris. I think people that scope all the things, Chris Martino and Hans Jorgensen for sure, are the ones. Like I mentioned at Vision, it's got two little devils, one on each shoulder. Both of them saying scope all the things, and they're both, one's Chris Martino, one's Hans Jorgensen. But he definitely has done out of the box stuff with some of the scope stuff he's done. For sure.
One thing I've noticed, man, about being mobile is like in-cylinder testing is pretty like, I don't want to say a waste of time, but it's pretty like.
You need to get there.
Said this. But the problem I've had is by the time I need to get there, if it's the conclusion's the same, and it's fucking engine. I mean, there's.
I say this all the time.
That's been my issue. Like I haven't tried it or practiced it as much as I would like to, because you need an engine. I mean, there's, RC test. All right, what do you want to do? Oh, I'm just gonna sell an engine. All right, cool. I'm done. I pay my money. I'm out. I don't know what you guys think about that.
No, I agree with that 100%. I think that the majority of the time, is it mechanical or not? Am I tearing this car apart or giving the customer an estimate for tearing the car apart or not? I don't need to know that it's, I don't have to get into the minutia. I just want to know if it's mechanical or not.
I've been on this. I've been on this with Brandon. Speaking of, I'm exactly with you, Tommy. I've had Brandon remote into my computer while I've remoted into other people's computers, because I'm in cylinder, and a lot of the times Brandon's like, well, we're gonna need more information to know exactly what's wrong. And I'm like, well, Brandon, look at this. I mean, you could clearly see valve leakage. He goes, yeah, but which one is it? Doesn't matter. Head's got to come off.
Yeah.
Are you replacing one valve? No, you're taking the head off. It's going to the machine shop. They'll pressure check it. Let them deal with it. Because you're not making money going further.
I find in my case, in at least in Northeast Ohio, when most of the car has rotted away, that mechanical problems ended up not getting fixed. It's maybe 1 out of 10 cars that I have mechanical problems on that actually get torn down or replaced. Yeah, it's just.
S10, is that still going?
Actually, that's gone. Finally, it's finally gone.
Oh, do you have pictures of that S10 that you can put up?
Hey, Chad,
I gotta find them.
Chad brought up a really good point.
I'll find them.
Says Hans is late because he's probably stuck in his van again.
Probably broke down.
Yeah, so we're not.
So wanted to steal that.
So we're not. Like Tommy had a good point too. Sometimes we overdiagnose. At one point, you just need to get an answer. And again, you need to know your customer. Does your customer need to know that if the second compression ring has a little bit of carbon on it, and you need to know? They need to know the engine's got to come apart.
That's the argument I made at one point. I'm just like, to what purpose do I have that the camshaft is worn, so it's opening 20 degrees late, so it's causing an EGR effect, blah, blah, blah. You need a fucking engine. I mean, It's done. Adios for Arrivederci.
So I'm
But the-
Off to the junkyard for you.
I'm scrolling through my phone here trying to find pictures of that S10, and I'm seeing so many awesome pictures of every one of you guys.
Oh no. Oh no.
So,
But-
like a prime example of overdiagnosing, which I think I put the pictures up on Instagram not that long ago. We had
I'm
a
not
Zuzu.
16. I don't have Instagram.
I'm basically 10 years old mentally, so I don't want to hear it. I got called out to tow in a Zuzu NPR box truck. What's it? The 5.2 liter diesel garbage in it. Thing fires up, runs, vibrates like
You had me
crazy.
at a Suzu.
Yeah. Well, here, get it back to the shop. Pop the hood on, or pop the cab up on it. Watch it. Crank pulley ain't spinning. Engine's running. I'm like, that's interesting. Vibrating like crazy. Pop the belt off it real quick. Crank pulley still ain't spinning. Do an RC test. 1 cylinder. Here, it snapped the crankshaft, and basically the only one running was number 4 cylinder in the back. The other 3, did I need to go further? Did I really care? No. I got no crank pulley spinning up front. I got 1 cylinder firing.
That's awesome.
Could I have gotten some cool intake waveforms and everything else off it? Absolutely.
You could have made one stellar goddamn case study about it, and you would have been like a real, you know.
Actually, it is in one of the classes I'm writing. Actually, a specific example of when cranking cadence and overall running, do you really need a scanner, a scope, or anything else? I mean,
And that's the point. And that would be the point of that particular case study, right?
yeah.
Do you really need to go any further? No.
And that's one of the things that I've learned, and I'll be one of the first ones to admit, when I first started getting more involved in everything, I was getting, getting the power probe, getting amp clamps. I had my scope setups. I had a few different scope setups. So, I needed this scanner. I needed this. I needed that. And the funny thing is, the more advanced tooling I got, made me realize the more training I needed. The more training I got, the more I default back to a test light, scan data, service info. And like a scope, I hate to admit it, other than night times when I'm building class material or doing, research and development stuff, a scope is really not a super common usage item for me right now. And I mean, I'm doing everything from like a 54 Chevy sitting in my bay, had a 2019 C5500, had 3 more 2020 Freightliners in the shop. I mean, I do everything. And scope usage is not as high on my list now that I've learned more with what I can do. It's more of a, I'll say, second, third, fourth step.
Let me
Verification.
put fans low on the list of people we've pissed off tonight now.
No, he's of the same mindset. I mean, I don't know. To me, when you're working on everything, I agree that I don't. We've talked about this. I don't utilize as much scan data as I should. But to me, the scope, the language is universal. When you're looking, you can look at global and it's kind of the same for the most part from one car to another. But on the enhanced side, it can be sometimes, if you're not super familiar with it, it's not always clear what you're seeing. And the other part of it to me is, and maybe I go too deep, but I want to verify circuit integrity. And that usually to me means using a scope to verify the circuit integrity. Engine mechanical stuffing, I think once you get really good at it, you can be pretty efficient at it. And, you can certainly go too deep. In cylinder is something I don't go as often. I usually get what I need to get out of a relative compression with intake pressure.
You can never go too deep.
Yeah.
Berkey!
Yeah, so I'm not sitting here trying to tell anybody not to use the scope. I just find the vast majority of the failures I run into, that's kind of my secondary confirmation. Now, one where I went way too deep into was, I think I actually talked to you on that one, Perkins, the probe with the bad calibration from IDS.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, that one. Long, I don't have the case study all written out, but long story somewhat short, had an intermittently shorting CAN transceiver in the PCM. Couldn't get a PCM for like a month. Got a rebuild from Florida. We all know how that goes.
They all come from Florida, it seems like.
Pre-programmed, supposed to be plug and play, program pads, good to go. Program Pats, throttle body codes right off the bat. Go through my scan data, scope it, everything's good, everything's reading fine. I'm like, it's a junk reman. Get a second reman from the guy, he warranties it out. Same exact fault. Now I'm sitting there and I'm like, now keep in mind these PCMs, reman PCMs with his tag on them, came out of the box covered in mud. Not dried mud, like literally chunks of somewhat wet mud still on it.
Well, that's the only way you can get things through Florida sometimes is through the mud, man.
Yeah. So I'm like, you know what? We're going with a Ford reman PCM. So 2 weeks later, we get the reman one. I go through your normal IDS programming, or FJDS in this case, but plug the VIN in, it pulls it in, blah, blah, blah. Same fault. So I'm going through, I'm scoping, I'm wiggling wires, I'm looking at scan data, I'm reading code set criteria. I'm second guessing myself 6 ways from Sunday. Finally, I decide to go through and check calibration ID and calibration verification number. The ID that's in there, I still haven't tracked it down to what it's from. It is not even remotely close to valid for a 2014 F-250 with a 6.2 in it.
I had
even on the list.
I had the same exact issue last week. Exact same problem. I got lucky.
Mm-hmm.
I got lucky. I ended up doing tear tag and it worked.
Well, so what I did was I forced the no-com with the PCM, and then I went to Ford's calibration list and chose the most recent tear tag, forced it in, programmed it, thing fired up, ran like a champ. Now, I'll be the first one to tell you, I went overboard with scoping, I went overboard with wire integrity testing, I went overboard with analyzing service info. I called 2 reman PCMs, finally a third Ford one, was getting ready to call a fourth one before I looped back around and, Occam's razor. Sometimes the simplest solution is the right one. And actually, I was talking to Cody the other night. That actually kicked me in the butt enough that every programming I've done since then, regardless of what that software tells me, I go into generic and I pull the calibration ID and the CVN to make sure I got what I'm supposed to get.
So I have a body shop who has a contract with the city of Chicago with the parks department, and they have nothing but Rams and F-250s and F-350s. So they said they were gonna stop calling me on Fords because they found a reman guy from Florida that was having them programmed. I'm just like, in the back of my head, I'm like, all right, you're still gonna call me because you guys don't know what parameter reset is, so I don't care. Mm-hmm. And yeah, lo and behold, he's like, why do you think these don't start? I'm like, I don't know. You want me to go find out? Or you want me to go? What do you want me to do? He's like, well, come check them out. And I told him, hey, bro, they need to be programmed, dude. And so I was just like, whatever. He's like, okay, I'm going to talk to them. Maybe I can get them cheaper since I still have to pay you to come out, blah, blah, blah. But yeah, that was the first one. The first one was the codes. And the only reason why I wasn't suspecting that it was a bad PCM or an issue with the vehicle was I actually had another code with mine. I don't know if you had it. I had a missing or incorrect calibration file code. So that's when I had 169A, I think, something like that.
I had that did not have that one. I had I believe it was a bid block, incomplete, something like that. So yeah, pretty similar.
Yeah, there's that code. So I was just like, okay, something's wrong with the calibration. So so I basically told myself I will not diagnose this thing until that code goes away. Because I've seen it on Fords when calibrations go wrong or PMIs go bad. If you use like an Alta for a PMI on those, you'll get all types of weird calibration code errors, and you have to go over and do the actual PMI with IDS or FJDS.
Yeah, and now what I can say is I almost think this is a Ford server per this VIN issue. Now, the first reman PCM I sent back, he sent me another one. I actually still had that after I figured all this out. So I bench tested it, and I hooked up powers and grounds, hooked up CAN to it, and went through and read the same calibration I downloaded from FJDS is the same one he put in it. So it's almost like that VIN is something goofy within the system, and it's pulling the wrong calibration in. But if you go back and try to download as built and do all that, directly after the programming, Ford will tell you that this software is not seen as a valid part number for this. And I'm sitting there going, I used your software, I followed your rules, and you're telling me this thing's not valid.
Yep.
So sometimes, like I said, I'm not downing scope usage at all, but sometimes whatever direction we go in, whatever our strategy, process, routine is, sometimes we got to back all the way out and start fresh with a new set of eyes.
I'm not arguing. I just got done teaching a CTI class, telling people that they had to use scopes all the time. So
I have a pretty interesting. I run into that a lot. Like I think I argue both sides of that depending upon what we're arguing. So I consistently run into like some like
so you're Canada.
Yeah, I'm Canada. I'm French. Whatever side's winning. So I will argue a lot of the times with someone about who's like, oh, don't ever use a scope, ball, because there's a balance, right? My go-to statement on it is when you first start scoping, if you haven't scoped a whole bunch, scope everything. Good, bad, just scope everything. And then once you've gotten super comfortable with all the different tests you could do, you will find that you scope very seldom. So
I say that too in the beginning of each of my classes is that the scope classes is that most people that work through that learning curve, they find themselves scoping too much. But I think that's good because it gives them the confidence.
Yeah, I don't think it's too much. I think it's
personally when I find a problem with the car or something like that, I even will try to find a way in my head of scoping that problem, even if I already figured out the problem.
That's the best time to do it.
Just to prove it in another way on a scope, just to get a...
Well, to see what it looks like. What does this failure look like on a scope?
Exactly.
There's nothing wrong with doing that in the name of learning.
Yeah, exactly.
Because there are a lot of times that kind of failure that you determined may have been determined with certain data PIDs that aren't available in every car.
That's true. Yep.
Hyundai, Kia.
Yep.
You got like 17 data PIDs. Figure it out.
Subaru. Yep.
Yeah. So, Keith, to catch you up, because you missed a good portion of the beginning,
yes.
We pissed everybody off.
Oh,
well, mostly just myself and
I'm out.
I piled on, not realizing I was live.
No, you said you were gonna pitch in this time, and you did.
This is plausible deniability. Chris,
so we just piss everybody off. We don't have anything specific.
No, Hans said he had something, but then we gave him late notice, so he didn't get it put together. So, nothing.
So I pissed off everybody that does case studies.
Get with the program, people. If you're here listening and you ever think we might call you to be on, just be ready. Just have a case study in the wait.
So doesn't have to be good. Look at my last two.
Well, who won by that? Who do we send a vision? That wasn't PJ. No, who do we send a vision?
No.
W.
Nolan.
Yeah.
Nolan. Yeah. He was the third guy to answer the phone. If you guys are gonna.
Yeah, but we told people for weeks, man. We told people for weeks on that.
And the worst part was somebody else won, and they answered the phone, and they didn't know what we were talking about. They're like, "No, I don't believe you."
The wrong number.
Who the hell is this? Another free cruise? The hell?
I think we called twice too.
Yeah.
Like,
and she didn't want to talk to us. I was like, no, we're really trying to give you something for real.
Now what's Nolan doing now? He's like a superstar right now.
He's a T10 instructor.
He's an instructor.
Yeah. Look at that. See, we don't do everything bad.
No,
every once in a while we do something good.
A lot of that is his own determination to get to that point. But
yeah. However, while doing that, we did piss other people off. So, I mean, no matter what we do, we're pissing people off.
Oh, you know what? Can I say one thing?
Please.
Probably not, but go ahead.
No, this is speaking of instructors. No, it's a good thing. When I took over for Steve Evanoff in Alabama, the class in Alabama, there was a guy who came to my classes, Billy Getty, who ended up moving to Washington. And he went from taking my classes to taking Adam Robertson classes.
Oh, God. So I love that guy.
There's a step up, right? Well, Billy Getty got a job as an instructor. And I just want to say congratulations to him because he's now teaching a technical school out there. So
nice.
There's another one that we had a small part in.
I took an Adam Robertson class, and I thought I was excitable during class. My God!
Oh yeah,
that guy teaches.
I've never taken an Adam Robertson class, but like at boot camp, I heard about him. Like, this dude will jump on a table.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he teaches at you. Do not sit front row. Do not sit
Yeah.
front row.
And you leave and you're like ready to go, man. You're like
And
all
the
excited.
Just so
Yeah.
anyone
Class,
listening
then.
is clear, we think this is extraordinary. This isn't.
this is a
we're
good
not
thing.
griping. This
Oh,
is the
yeah,
dude
for
brings
sure.
super energy because I've been up there talking, going, man, these dudes have got to be falling asleep, and like, okay,
It's
only
tough.
two.
Yeah.
Dude, I took a red eye. It was in ATE East. I took a red eye there. I went right off the plane into an Adam Robertson class. I was awake and riled up. The whole thing, I got yelled at. It was great.
The class comes to coffee. You just don't even know
That's-
you're drinking it.
That's what I assumed that my presentation is like, and then I watch like a video of it, and I'm like, Mueller.
Not you at Vision. My God, you at Vision.
Oh,
I swear
God.
to
Oh
God.
Jesus, yeah.
I've never seen you
Between-
talk so fast.
It was like the
Between
micro machines
Bryn and
guy.
Martino. Oh,
What did I do?
your class was one of the most entertaining ones I was in.
Oh yeah,
Why? Because I
it was
running around
colorful.
like a psycho.
It was colorful.
Yeah. So, Brandon, I think me and you were standing next to each other, talking about how colorful it was.
Are you allowed to curse this much in a class?
No.
Nobody told me I couldn't.
It was the
At
whole
least-
reason
at
I wanted
least-
to get into training. I was like, if Martino can get away with it, they'll definitely accept me.
At
Well, let me
least,
just tell you, I haven't taught since then.
at least
So-
you were remote. You were remote.
Yes,
You weren't.
I wasn't. They didn't let me in the main building.
Don't worry, me neither.
None of us have taught since then, so you're not alone.
Yeah.
So,
Uh,
Hans just messaged me that he's headed home right now. So, maybe he'll
Yeah, but
join us.
we're like done.
It's, yeah,
I think. Who
I
else?
barely
Who
made
else
it.
do we?
I don't know.
Who else do we got to piss off?
we need a grand finale. I mean,
Yeah, who else do
So-
we need to piss off?
I did want to mention something. I don't. Maybe next week we'll invite
Next
him
week?
on.
Oh.
God.
Yeah, next week.
Next week, not next week. 2 weeks. Week from now. 2 weeks from now. Not the way. When are we going to do this next? When are we going to come back on and piss more people
Why is
off?
DeFazio in the chat not in here?
Next week is,
That's a good question.
Next week is election night. I don't think we're going to be doing it.
that's
Oh, is
Alright.
it?
I
solid
already
point.
voted. We're good to go. Everybody get out and vote.
I already know who won, so it's over.
Did you guys see?
Either way, you guys
the
are
pu-
screwed.
Did you guys see the stats on Google and how many people Googled "Can I change my vote" after the Biden laptop
Jesus Christ, I don't think it works like that, bro.
thing? I know. I was
Alright.
like, oh.
Yeah, let's not talk about that. I mean, Jesus, even I got limits.
Yeah. No, I was just saying, see how many people, like, you should look up the Google stats. You could see, like, trending topics and what's been Googled, and "Can I change my vote" is pretty popular right now.
After politics, we're gonna cover religion.
Yeah,
Oh, jeez.
Stick around. Stick around.
I'm out.
Guns.
Well, if we're going to start talking about religion, one of the
No,
most profitable
no.
things out there, I'm starting a church and just letting you guys know. For 18 easy payments of $18.99.95, YouTube can be saved.
Jesus has left the chat.
I really want to make a Scientology comment, but I'll just. Oh, I already did.
I'm,
All right.
well, I'm more affordable than Scientology. I'm like the bag cereal version of Scientology.
The discount Scientology.
You do
The
realize
poor.
we
You
have
don't get
enough
clear, you get hazy.
we have enough talent in this chat to make one of those fake e-machines. They get your little reader. What's that? What
It's
do you do when
fake.
you
Any
put
of us could make
What do
it.
you do when you put your hand in the
The
stick?
e-meter. The
The e-meter.
Yeah. All right, moving on.
Who else can we piss off? Okay, we covered bad case studies. We covered religion, the politics. What else?
Well, Tommy was talking about his play date early on. For those that weren't here, that was cool. We talked about that was it last time or the time before? It was probably time before, wasn't it? 2 weeks ago. No.
2 weeks ago.
Vision. I
Yeah.
think probably most of us have heard that that's going virtual this year, which is kind of a
Oh,
A blow.
which brings up Mike Bolesky brought up a good point. If Vision is virtual, we all have to go to our local Top Golf and play Top Golf virtually.
No, don't worry. Mike is either gonna get hungover or
With
horribly
lots-
sick.
Lots
Or
of
the-
tequila.
Or the fucking flu. Bastard.
Well, that's what I said. Horribly sick. Don't worry. He's gonna miss it anyway. He's gonna pay full price. Miss it anyway.
So this is actually the first I'm hearing about Vision going virtual.
Oh, Vision,
Oh,
I
is
got
Vision's
the email
virtual.
today. It's virtual.
I've not checked
Keith
my
said
email most
next
of the day.
week's episode we will be discussing the topic of daytime training versus evening training. Well, Keith,
Wait.
will you be joining us too?
Wait, Jim Kokona says women in the shop next.
Ooh.
We did that already. We did that.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
true. We did have. Yep.
Yeah.
Keith, we had your wife on, and
Yep.
we
Oh,
had
we had.
and Mike's wife, Mike's
We had Beth.
fiance.
Yeah.
Yeah. We did that. Well,
We've
I would
had-
love to do that again.
We've
I've-
had Kuba on too. Kuba talked
Kuba,
about.
yeah.
being a woman.
I had a special conversation about potentially.
I mean, we could have
instead
more
of-
women on and talk at them.
Instead of all of us getting on, all of our wives get on, and just replace us.
Terrible. That is terrible.
Yeah, that's a real bad idea.
Terrible.
Can we get Oz's wife on? Because she's hilarious.
My wife.
Yeah.
I think it'd be funny. I mean, they
We need
definitely
some,
wouldn't
we need
talk
some,
about
we need
us.
some color in here, man.
You know,
we
Rich,
need to
get
get some
Chrissy
brown
on. 'Cause
text.
she is the best. In fact, get Chrissy
She
on
is
right
the
now.
best. I'm saying she would be more entertaining than me, and no one would want to hear me talk anymore. Which
Yeah,
is
right.
I love talking to her. Is she available? Put her on.
No,
Get her on.
no,
Is she
no,
dressed?
no. So anyway.
First of all, let's talk about Rich and Christy. They got the big room in the creepy cabin. Let's just say there were noises.
The big room in the creepy cabin walls didn't go all the way to the top,
Yeah.
including the bathroom. So we heard everything. Thank you very much, Tom.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah, that was one of the weirdest showers I took. It was like a weird
Yes.
tub. Meanwhile, you can hear them sleeping and whispering in the next room.
Yeah.
Like, wow,
Hey,
is,
who do you think is in the bathroom now?
is it
Jeez.
is it raining? I hear thunder. Oh, that's just Tommy.
I felt like I was living in a third world country, laying on the dining room floor.
Then you had Mario sleeping in his leather jacket, balled up on the couch. Dude came with no clothes. He slept with no bag. Just came off the plane,
Oh.
slept on the couch.
We got catfished. We got Airbnb catfished.
We did, yes.
That was the beginning of Mario, which is pretty cool.
That was the nicest, crappiest place ever. Actually,
Yeah.
it was,
Did you see the coffee maker? First of all, the coffee. Who made the coffee?
Brian.
Brian. Let's talk about the coffee maker. First of all, we're talking about TST 2 years ago.
Yeah.
No, that was Super Saturday.
Super Saturday.
Super Saturday. 2
Saturday,
years ago. Yeah.
Super Saturday.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we all rented a cabin and thought it was gonna be a good Airbnb. Brian goes to make coffee. Take it over.
coffee
Brian.
with too much resistance.
Yeah, the entire thing was solid green on the inside. It was
Oh,
it
yeah.
was pretty bad.
It wasn't just coated. It was fur. It was like
yeah, it was
Ugh.
like
packed.
inches of
Okay.
fur.
Was it Brita? Was it a Brita? No, it wasn't a Brita. It was an actual coffee maker, but
Yeah,
we
it
put
was-
the water in the top.
Yeah.
And I still have rashes from the sheets on that bed.
So,
I still have flashbacks to Tommy's farting during the raffle giveaway.
yeah, I was just gonna say. I was
Hold on.
just gonna say.
Do we have that video, Brian? I know you got that video.
I can find it.
Do that video up. It's
Oh,
hilarious.
come on, man.
that was great.
I think it's in
Um,
Drive.
We were trying to do something serious by announce a winner. For what was ATG training, right? ATG class.
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then Tommy tried to squeak one out. It was the loudest, most echoey fart.
Definitely not a squeak.
You're looking at him point my finger to Falco because he was right next to me.
I'm looking to get blown into the next room.
Oh, shit. That was fucking great.
I was
Or
talking
tan.
about that fart last night.
What the hell?
Poor Tanner sleeping on the Leaning Tower of Pisa.
The bunk bed that was literally stuck.
I was like,
You know what? Now that I think about it, who the hell makes a one-tiered bunk bed, right?
It was
On
a
wheels.
bunk bed that missed the bunk.
It looked like a big ass fucking hospital bed. Like you literally rolled this bitch.
But he's
a
the
hospital bed on stilts. Or on
Shit.
he's the perfect size or something like that, though. I mean,
Well, if any of
it
us
worked
got on
out.
it, the bed would have fell over.
every time he moved, it was.
stop moving.
then you get Perkins came in at like what 3 a.m. to go lay on the floor, like he laid on a
10
blanket.
minutes.
Yeah, you could have go to training.
I can't travel with Perkins. We end up staying up 24 hours in the airport
Yeah.
every time we do.
Or right when you get to the point where you're asking me really important questions about your class that we're going to teach the next day, I just, huh?
Fun times, man. Fun
I
times.
will say that, Keith, you are the fastest person that I've ever witnessed to fall asleep.
Absolutely.
yeah.
Like mid-conversation, just
It's because I run 90 to nothing, and when it's time to go to sleep, it's time to go to sleep.
And on the other side, Bryn is the fastest person I've seen wake up. The dude wakes up, is a complete mess. Looks like he just came out of high school. Turn around, the Dapper Dan, the hair's all done. He looks all fresh, smells good, looking all cute, just out of nowhere.
I don't know. I love my morning sleep, man. I guess I've gotten good at making it happen quick.
efficient. I mean, that's what it's all about.
I don't know where he stores
Wake
that
up.
hair gel.
10 minutes before I have to be at work.
What is the product you use in here? I call it Dapper Dan. What do you use?
Dapper Dan's a perfect name. Well, let's just call it Dapper Dan forever. I'm unlike him. I'm not loyal to my brand. Whatever's like $5 a can is what I use. So
Is it in the
Fifth wheel
can?
grease.
yeah, I had a buddy that used legit wheel bearing grease for years.
Oh
And
no,
then
wheel bearing grease doesn't hold up to the word. Fifth wheel grease. It's thicker, way higher pressure. You're way better off.
Anyways, his sister was like, at some point a girl's going to want to rub her hands through, and he's like, oh, and he had this light bulb moment, and then he tried to grow his hair out, and it wouldn't grow out.
Once again, fifth wheel grease. That hand will stick right in there. She can't run away for a good 5 to 10 minutes.
Ooh, Joe's Auto Electric. There's one more. He mentioned one more person we can piss off.
Oh, geez.
Oh,
I don't know that we don't need ideas.
Yeah, we could do this on our own.
You know, how about a
some-
certain parts supplier, a certain parts manufacturer?
Can we give stuff away?
Does
We
it
can
rhyme
give
with
stuff
Mormon?
away, right?
Well, no, we're not allowed yet.
We can give stuff away, can't we?
Yeah, we can give it away, but
Yeah.
it can't be for a raffle.
That's true.
Don't we
Yeah,
have
could
stuff to give
stuff
away?
Anybody
Yeah,
can
We
tons
do
of
give
stuff.
something away.
We were waiting for a raffle to send people away for training, and again, piss people off.
Doesn't look like training's going to happen for a while, so.
Yeah.
Well, we can still pay for those classes,
Oh yeah,
though.
yeah, that's true.
So, are we still waiting, Tommy, on that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Do we want to
Um,
talk to people about what's going on with that?
Sure.
We
I can
kind
try.
of.
Okay. Well, I want to rant. So you guys, if I start talking, I'm gonna start naming names. So maybe you guys want to,
Shit, hasn't
Bring it
stopped you
back.
before.
Well, we did. I mean, we did. We were a bit naive. We just wanted to help people, and then we found out.
Basically, if we're going to raffle stuff off, we have to have the proper paperwork and tax
Mm-hmm.
things set up. So
And if you don't-
we were very naive and going, oh, we're going to be wonderful and just give stuff away, and that's not how it works.
and
So,
if you don't, people will call your boss and threaten you with your job.
people will call everybody on
Yeah.
the planet and try to throw us under the bus for being the nice guys and giving things away.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
We're not naming names here, so
That's just funny because we were talking about Dorman. So
Nothing. And to be clear, there were some people that that had our best interest, and some didn't. Some
There
that
were a
had our
lot
best
of-
interest. The ones that had our best interest contacted us directly. The ones that
and
didn't.
said, hey, you should probably look at doing XYZ.
because they knew what we stood for and what we were.
Then there were
trying
people
to
like
do.
that were like, gee, you probably shouldn't do that.
Not to
Mhm.
us.
Yeah, but not to
Yeah,
us.
to
They
us.
told everyone
Uh,
else.
So
I'll go on record. We can say nice things. Pete Meyer is one that approached us personally and said,
Directly.
"You
Chesney
need
had
to-"
our back.
Paul
Yeah.
Danner.
And said, this sounds good, but you guys should do this because to protect yourself. Just in the future, you should pay attention. We're like, oh yeah.
It makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, we didn't think about that. We were just trying to send people to training.
Yeah, we were just trying to put asses in seats, guys. That's all we were trying to do. We were trying to put asses in your guys' seats.
You know what's the funniest part? It wasn't even our idea. The
Yeah,
raffle
that
thing
is-
wasn't even our idea.
Somebody approached us and was like, hey, you guys, here, take this tool. You should sell tickets for it and use it for something. And we were like,
That's
hey,
a great idea.
let's send people to training with it. And then they were like, that's awesome.
No, they were like, you should sell that. You should sell this tool and keep that money to fund yourselves.
Yeah. And
Like,
we were
no,
like,
no.
hey, let's give the money away.
Get all of it away.
Actually, it was more than all of it.
Yeah.
We gave all of it.
with some help
And-
with
and then
Mike
we-
Odin. And,
Yeah, then we got a bunch of other people to help give more away.
Yeah.
And then when it came time, all of us pitched in to help even more while the individuals were there.
Point is, that's what we want to do.
And we're going to do more of that the second we become a nonprofit. We're just waiting for the government.
Yeah,
is Hans on?
Yeah, good luck with that.
Hans is here.
Is he on?
Hands?
No.
Hands?
No, he's not here yet.
All right. Well,
you know what? And looks like.
Sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, it looks like Chad's shooting a lot of questions out here. Should your boss pay for training? How far should you go for training? Should service writers go to tech classes? It's got a lot of good topics coming up here.
Service writers should definitely go to tech classes.
Yes.
Because
I agree with that,
people can smell bullshit a mile away.
They need to be able to explain just how technical our jobs are at some point.
Without being overly technical and glazing eyes over. So I agree.
A balance. They need to bridge that gap between us and them.
I don't think they need to be attending.
It's a skill to have to take something super technical and understand it and be able to break it down to the customer.
Yes.
Well, what's the old Einstein quote there? If you can't explain something simply, you don't understand it well enough, and that's kind of what service writers run into. Is we all know how interconnected all the systems are. Hell, I had a 2011 Toyota RAV4, check engine light, traction control light, and four-wheel drive light all on, and literally all it was a PO 118 ECT voltage too high. But explaining to one of my service writers how a coolant temperature sensor reading negative 40 degrees can affect 3 separate systems took a little bit of time. And then for her to then go and explain it to the customer took some more time. And, so I think there's definitely a level of knowledge or experience that a service writer should be able to achieve.
I agree. I don't think they should be attending technical classes all the time. I think they should be attending some to get an understanding of what it is, the depth that we have to go through to do what we do. But I think, we can all agree that there's some front versus back kind of mentality at most shops, at least in the shops that I've been at. There's kind of there's a bit of a wall there sometimes, and I think that sometimes training is the answer. So technicians, in my opinion, should attend service advisor classes as well, so they can understand what the service advisor has to go through. And I don't mean to throw anybody under the bus, but there's been some times in the past where we've had some quality issues, and I think speaking to everybody on here, talking about that wall that's built between the front and the back, if there is something that you could have done differently to keep a quality issue from occurring, you're not the one, generally speaking, we're not the ones, generally speaking, that have to approach that owner of that vehicle and break the bad news. And so that's something to consider. I think we need to hold ourselves accountable and make sure that we're empathetic of that person that has to do that, and apologize. Just take it, take responsibility and apologize for it.
Yeah, I do a little bit of both. I'll either walk them through if something becomes more involved than we originally thought, or if there was a mess up. So basically, if it becomes more involved, then they got to explain more to the customer. I'll sit down, I'll write out almost a script for them. I'll walk them through. I'll be there next to them to answer any questions. If it's something that was on me, I'll be right up front there talking to the customer for them. But I mean, it's hard. I'm actually going to go the opposite way too. Not only should service writers and owners take technician classes, I personally take technician classes, service writer classes, and ownership classes. I want to see what every side of the business I'm involved in has to deal with. I want to know why, if I want to upgrade this tooling, or if I want to do this, or I want to do that. I want to know why my boss says yes or why my boss says no. I want to know what my service writers are dealing with, what customers are expecting. No. I like knowing every bit of the business and understanding a little bit more how service writers are being trained, or what numbers ownership are looking at. That gives me a better idea how to do my job, and it makes the overall shop environment a little better. Now, am I saying that everybody's got to go out and take 30 ownership classes a year? No. 1 or 2 ones that come through local, just see this is how we figure out technician productivity. This is why we look at this. This is why we're selling that 118-point inspection, blah, 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 blah. And, you know, if the technician sees it from the owner and the service writer side and everybody starts to get a little taste of everybody else's piece of the pie, I think on a shop-to-shop level, you can really start to build something that works a lot better for everybody.
Yeah,
Instead of
improves
some
culture.
instead of some cookie cutter, some guy comes in and tells you, if you do this multi-point inspection, use this software and do this, I'm going to increase your revenue by 72% guaranteed. But if everybody understands what the other one's dealing with, you have a lot less of that passive aggressive nonsense, a lot less of the front versus the back of the house stuff. It becomes more of a team or a family, which is when, to me, it works.
And then most of us have some leverage. We have, you know, we have some power in those positions. Sometimes not, but like maybe it's an efficiency thing. There's certain management classes that talk about efficiency. A lot of shops are not set up for efficiency. We don't think in those terms always. So a technician takes an efficiency class. Now he comes back, and Brian, you have one of the best shop owners that we know, you know, that we've ever worked with or knew of anybody that's worked with anybody, but he doesn't necessarily attend classes anymore. So sometimes maybe you have picked something up by seeing a conversation, hearing something and bringing it to him. And, you know, so there's all kinds of benefits but I think basically being able to put yourself in other people's shoes and understand their job's important for sure. Daytime training, I think the industry needs to do more of it. I think if the dealership can afford to send their service technicians to training during the day, like they do most of the time, then we can too. And you know, I own a small shop, so it's painful when we have somebody leave during the day. But if you plan for it, it's okay. You can make it happen.
Yeah.
It's not easy. I mean, training companies want to do it, but I think when they've tried, they have less attendees than they do when they do in the evening. I mean, that's been my experience, unfortunately. I think we as an industry have to want it and ask for it and actually show up. Shop owners should pay for training. That's pretty simple in my opinion. But when I talk to technicians, you know, first of all, ask. We've talked about that. Sometimes people just assume their shop owner or manager's not going to pay. You got to ask, and you can't just give up one time. You got to ask every time you see something you want to go to.
And I think personally, I think most shop owners would be excited to hear their tech ask that type of thing. You know.
There's some. I had one conversation with a shop owner in Vegas when I was helping Matt with a Pico booth, and he walked by and he shook his head and he said, "Why would you invest in this equipment?" And we started talking, and he told me straight up that he wouldn't. I said, by the end of the conversation, I was so frustrated, but I said, if you had a technician that had a desire to learn and be as good as he could possibly be, would you pay for his training? He said no. He said, I'll pay for his training. Somebody else is going to benefit when he leaves me. I mean, we've heard that, but we've heard that from other people, but I've never heard that out of a shop owner's mouth before. It was insane.
Yeah, don't put your guy in a situation where he wants to leave, you know?
Don't put your guy in a situation where he wants to leave, but if you're going to keep him there untrained, how much damage is he going to do, right? I mean, we have a video with Bill Haas we need to release.
I hope that guy ever sees this video and can just look at himself. I was about to say something that was really bad.
No, that guy isn't watching us.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right.
He doesn't see the value in it. He's going to throw parts in the car.
But he did talk about something. He's talked about a service that he subscribes to that helps him with cars. And I didn't know where he was going initially. I think in hindsight, I think it was a tech support type service, like a live person. But initially, I was thinking Identifix or something. So I asked him, I said, when you're using this service, are you actually learning something and put in a position where you are physically, verifying the fault and stuff? And he said, yeah. And I said, great, that's fine. But overall, the conversation was pretty depressing. But as technicians, we have to ask, and I've said it before, I don't think that's, if you have a manager or shop owner that will not pay for training, that's kind of, it's hard to imagine that everything else doesn't suck too. But if everything else is great, then I wouldn't make a decision solely on that. I'd invest in it myself for sure. I don't know what you guys think.
I don't understand it.
There's been a bunch of people who've thrown us some money, so we should say thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Joe's Auto Electric, thank you.
DeFazio gave us 99 cents, which is awesome.
Chris, what are you doing? You're on this.
What did I do?
I did it last time, so it's
Tax deduction.
okay. Dusty, thank you. Dusty said if the problem with service writers attending technical training is they start selling jobs sight unseen, which is a problem. They start diagnosing over the phone.
Yep.
So, yeah.
Depending, and that's where you kind of have to build up the relationship with your service writers.
Yeah,
Yeah.
nine times out of 10, the phone shopper is looking for the cheapest price. He's not looking for the quality.
Dave Osborne, thank you very much.
Yeah, Dustin says 75% of shops would fail without support. Agreed.
Which is not necessarily a bad thing, right? If they've made their bed, right? I mean, they don't want to pay for training. They don't want to, grow and improve.
I got hands coming in.
Oh, nice.
Nice.
So we have a
Whose hands?
holy crap.
Oh, there he is.
He made it. Nice to see Hans. Well, he's connecting to audio. I want to insult him when he can hear me. Hans, how's it going?
Hands.
Hey!
There we are.
Nice to see you. We're finishing up. We'll catch you next time.
I know. Yes. Hi.
Thanks, Keith. America's birthday.
that's right, baby.
I found that out on my citizenship test.
You were born here, weren't you?
Shh.
I was like, wait a minute. What the fuck is
Chris is here.
Chicago?
What's up, Hansy? I mean,
I was
How
like,
much?
citizenship test. Wait a minute.
Where's your sticker? You got your sticker? Can we show everybody your stickers?
I got one right here. Hang on.
I don't have one right here.
Mine's on my
Hold on.
scope.
It's got
which
Hold
is-
on, I
One of
have
the
one.
best stickers I've seen so far, though.
Well, Brian's got to talk, and everybody else got to be quiet to show the sticker.
No, I got gallery.
Oh, it's you got gallery.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it.
There we
It's
go.
the
I
only
just-
scope-related sticker that'll make
Good
it
auto
onto a
diagnostics,
scooter
not a bad year either.
Yeah.
Could've been better.
I just got back from a Diag date. Play date? Diag
Oh,
date.
nice.
van.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Our
it's my
first
sticker
one
right
here.
there.
Sweet. Who was
There
there?
it is. Chris has it. Jake Sorensen from McNeil's and his coworker John. Jake was actually Napa Technician of the Year in 2018.
Cool.
Nice.
Wow.
Yeah. So he's trying to put something together, and tonight was our first night.
Sweet.
We're trying to figure it out. Talking about scope stuff, really tonight.
Well,
We just bash scopes. So
yeah,
I know.
that's a lot of scopes. We did a lot of things. I don't know if you're listening, but maybe tonight was the night to show your face.
Wait, is that a scope? Is that a scope capture behind Richard?
Oh God, it is. Let me change that. To
A Usco capture at that.
Let me change that to scan data.
Yeah.
No, I think Hans there. Did you get any further with any of those captures we were talking about briefly? I've got a couple pages written up. I just haven't had time to post it.
So what I learned from Jake is in the John Thornton video that he just did last week, they actually talk about that. So I'm gonna have to order that automotive Science, diagnostic video and watch it.
What I miss?
Now we all have to.
I can actually pull it up if you want.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Whip
I
it
was
out.
busy. I was busy ranting on other things.
Alright.
Whip
So
it out,
excuse
Brian
me while I
says.
whip this out.
whip
Yeah.
it out. We want to see it.
I saw that already.
Yeah, we need a microscope if we're going to see Chris's.
Whoa!
Shots
keep-
fired.
I keep Tommy very, very happy. By the way.
I would have said magnifying glass, not a microscope.
Well, Tommy's got low standards, and it's a Chris thing. I
Well,
understand.
even
That's
he'll
very
tell you.
true.
He's very sensitive.
That's why we're such good friends.
Yeah.
All right. Do you want me to share this real quick?
Share it.
Absolutely.
I gotta give you-
Look at us.
I have to give you permission. Hang on.
Thanks, Brian.
Hans needs a haircut.
No,
Yeah,
he just got it cut.
He's been a single man
I
for a
did.
while now, so.
My last cut was, I think, before Vision.
Oh wow,
Wow.
Yeah, I got a cut so I don't look like a hippie.
must have been super
Yeah.
short then.
All right, you're all
Did you
good.
just say so you don't look like a hippie?
I
It
mean,
wasn't
already
that
had-
much shorter.
I just carry
So I
enough hair
don't-
for all you guys.
So I
Hey.
don't look like
Cool.
It's kind of hard not to look like a hippie when you drive a van again.
when you are. a hippie.
Which is a whole separate thing that the
Yeah.
number one hippie mobile was started by the Nazis. But hey,
Right.
you know, history, who cares?
Tell us about your pet
It was
raccoon,
saved by
Hans.
the English.
He passed away.
Oh, now I remember the raccoon story. Oh yeah, you were vicious. My bad. You're kind of a dick.
Speaking of
Now I
Nazis,
remember.
That was very sad.
Moving on. We don't want to piss off PETA.
I don't think it was very sad for you, Hans. I think you're getting
It's
way
very
too much
sad.
enjoyment out of it.
Oh shit!
Let's just can we share the goddamn scope screen?
Okay.
Sorry.
Oh.
Oh shit!
Okay, can you guys see that?
yeah,
Mhm.
Yeah.
Oh
pretty.
shit!
So what we're looking at is Blue Trace is my
High pressure fuel pump regulator, and then you got to okay.
I just want to
Yeah,
say
yeah,
I love
Christmas
the way your
pieces.
captures are.
Channels
are labeled. It's pretty. It's presentable. I love it. Go on.
Well, he's got Miles. He's got Miles misspelled. Damn it.
Mules.
Mules.
I have my blue trigger is my cylinder 1, so I have a reference on where
That was kind of like watching Mike Tyson win a fight or lose a fight. Seeing that typo there.
Mules.
It sounded like he typed it.
Sorry.
Go on.
My red trace is my fuel rail pressure sensor. So this is a high pressure fuel pump GDI system. So it
Pin
has a
2?
rail sensor.
Yeah, pin 2.
Yeah, it's labeled.
Yep. Okay. Oh, right there. Look at that.
Yeah, it's labeled, Chris. Don't worry.
Pin 3
Why is it 3 question mark? It's always 3.
Pin 3 is questionable.
Because sometimes it's 2, sometimes it's 3.
It's 3.
Okay. And then I have my, it's the N276. It's named quite a few different names like quantity adjuster.
But it's
fuel
always an
pressure
N276, so bam.
On Audi and Volkswagen, it's always 276. Yeah. So what I've done is pretty much I want to reference where the exhaust camshaft is. On this particular engine, I only have a crank sensor and a cam sensor on the intake. There's no exhaust cam sensor. And I've heard of these cam lobes going flat or rotating. And so what I want to see is where the chain, basically where intake references or where the intake is sitting, well, where the exhaust sits compared to the intake. So the exhaust camshaft has the fuel pump, high pressure fuel pump on it. And what I want to look at is, the peak of the high pressure fuel pump compared to the trigger and cylinder 1. This tells me it's 15 degrees away. So that's kind of what I'm looking at. And I want to be able to determine what the timing is on the exhaust cam without having any other reference to it.
Now he got that pressure pulse is because of the exhaust cam lobe that's pumping the GDI fuel pump.
Yeah. So this is your known good exhaust
Yes.
camshaft correlation to.
Exactly, and hopefully I'll get a no.
So-
Hopefully I'll get a bad
So
one.
you also need to know this is a 4-lobe cam, right? This is
Correct.
what year is this? A 2013? Yes, it's 4 lobes.
Yeah.
Another thing to take into account is ignition timing. Did you notate that with scan data?
I haven't yet. And
Okay.
honestly, I asked him.
At idle, it doesn't move that much. At idle,
Right.
pretty much waits.
Well, in wherever he's at. So take the vehicle up a bunch of elevation, put some different fuel in it, and then see what happens.
Yeah.
So
Switch summer blend to winter blend. Switch. I mean, I'm just trying to. I'm not trying to beat it up. I'm trying to make it.
No, I want to know everything I can about this because I don't know anything about it.
Right.
Well, I spent some time with this, Hans. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt because this is super. This is super like I tried to get this exact capture, and this exact capture, the fuel pump pressure waveform. I tried to make sense of it using some techniques I learned from Frank Massey, using the high pressure fuel pressure sensor to look for injectors that are bad.
Right.
Create misfires. However, I was not able to get this kind of resolution that you got over here. My fuel pressure sensor looks like garbage, and I don't even see you.
Yeah.
You may see couple. It looks sexy. What'd you do to it?
Magic. No, actually, this is unfiltered everything. Let me stop sharing. And
Where
I'm
was your
gonna-
ground at?
Let me pop
Battery.
in real quick for one thing,
Oh,
Hans. Something for a known bad. Restrict fuel flow. Shut off the fuel pump, the low pressure fuel pump.
Okay.
Crimp off a line, a few different things. I've done that a lot on diesels. Like I said, I've got like 3 or 4 pages worth of stuff I got to send out to you on specifically doing this. I was doing a lot of this with Deere equipment and high pressure common rail stuff, 20, 30, 40,000 DSI systems, trying to figure out injector drops and all that with it. You know what? We got one customer dropping off keys here. Let me go grab them and let me see if I can pull up some of their scope captures.
Would it be more beneficial to reference it to crank sensor?
It might be, and I can do that. I can do that later.
I just worry about ignition spark timing moving around due to other variables.
Hold on, I'm gonna pull mine up while you guys are doing this. I have this almost exact same capture. I want to see what I did different. You guys,
And so
talk amongst yourselves.
This is an earlier model engine. Actually, my 720 mark's on the wrong one, huh? Jeez, all sorts of stuff wrong.
Is that way
This
spark by
one's
chance?
different as well. So we have the same trigger, but we have just a spike. Now this is the earlier style with the fuel rail sensor under the intake manifold. It's harder to get to. The other one has the aluminum intake manifold. It's really easy to get to the rail sensor right on top, and it makes beautiful waveforms.
So the rail sensor's right on the high pressure pump on the other one.
No, it's on the rail. It's on the rail.
On the rail.
itself. Yep, they're both on the rail. And this one doesn't make nearly as pretty waveforms out of it, but I can still see that it's a 4 lobe. 1, 2, 3, 4 lobe.
Yeah, you can.
Fuel pump lobe.
Yeah.
So, yeah, this one doesn't look nearly as nice, and honestly, I need to just scope all of them that come in.
All the things.
All the things.
No, that's a good point. I like Keith's thought, trying to reference it.
It's an interesting way to find where the exhaust camshaft is, because there is no camshaft sensor.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
And
It's
my
crazy
thought was
to me.
just that my thought would just think that, of course, crank to exhaust cam correlation mechanically should be the same, since they're not variable valve timinged on the exhaust side on
this particular engine.
on that particular engine.
Here it is.
So that would be my thought, because I have monitored spark timing on lots of things, and it moves.
It moves. Where a crank sensor doesn't.
A lot. Even at idle. There's variations of 3 to 6 degrees, plus and minus.
Well, I think we'd be looking at repetition here, whether it moves around. I think if we saw the entire forest of the waveform, we'd be able to see something that's odd and out.
I want to show you my nastiness, because I was trying to do the same exact thing you were doing.
Okay.
It's a mess. It's the same exact one. I cannot make head or tail.
Wow.
I could not get I was trying to figure out how you captured it. Yeah, you were on DC. You were on DC coupling.
Yeah. No, Chris, this is the exact same. I was on a CCTA, and so this
is a CBFA. Yeah.
It's basically the same thing. So this looks just like the last capture that I had.
So I see acquisition bleed over a voltage from the A channel to the D channel, because during your injection event, you get the same static on the pressure sensor, the rail pressure sensor.
See, what I was looking for is I wanted to look for some kind, because the way I proved this, I did this in my class too. Voltage goes up, pressure goes up, voltage goes down, pressure goes down. I proved that that's how that worked by unplugging the regulator, making the pressure work, on rail line pressure. All right, so I know voltage up is higher pressure, voltage down is lower pressure. So I was looking around here to look at the pressure go down, and I couldn't because I wanted to see if I could somehow time the lobe, and then time the pulse, and then time the time. Actually, no, sorry, the injector was here. I apologize. It was a lot to make up. me see if I can zoom in. Hold on.
So I do have the 8-channel now, so I can get everything on there.
So, but if you look here, here's the injector, right? This is the pressure regulator. So when this is working right here, the pressure should be coming up, and you can see the pressure going up because this is holding the regulator shut. Pressure should rise. Pressure should fall. This is the injector, and it doesn't. So I got frustrated and gave up, and then you came up with that sexy ass capture.
But that may not be the actual injection event, because if it's sharing a power source, that may be either way it should drop.
This is the injector. This is the injector right here. So the injector's opening right here, and pressure's going up. Why is pressure going up? Pressure should go down.
Let's talk about how small of an orifice is opening on a high pressure system, and then the injector slams closed, and you're gonna have a spike of fuel pressure before the regulator adjusts.
And is that
the injector is closing here?
Is that lobe still going up? So does the.
But if you look here, so when the fuel pressure regulating valve is not working, pressure bleeds out. That's how it works. Fuel pressure regulating valve is working here, not here. So pressure is not building here. If anything, pressure should go down. I should see downward, and I don't. This is just a lot of stuff going on. I apologize. Pico 7 is a mess at times.
Yes. So stupid question here, not being a Volkswagen Audi guy. So direct injection, obviously, right? That's what we're dealing with here. How's the fuel system run there? Is it hard lines to it, or is it in the head rail, or
in the sensors in a metal line?
So, but are there individual metal lines run into each injector, or is it more like a
common rail?
All run
Common rail.
So it's all in a common rail, and they're all directly sitting on top of the injectors.
I lost my.
Yes.
Okay, so something I experimented with on the mechanically injected diesels or any ones with exposed fuel rails is using. You ever seen a diesel tachometer? Little clamp-on piece that you hook into the little box, gives you an RPM for tuning them and all.
Yeah.
Something I had done a video on a while ago and I'm still playing with is taking one of those little pickups, putting it either on the common rail or on individual injector lines, and you can get a much clearer signal that you can reference back to that fuel rail pressure sensor.
Hey, Chris, on the right is your little zoom window.
Where did it go? I can't see it. Do I have something covering it?
Right on the right on your green channel.
Oh, there it is. It disappeared. There it
went.
So now, I use a touch screen. But yeah, so fuel pressure regulating. Pressure should go up while this is going on. Pressure should drop down while it's going on over here. Obviously, while this is happening, the lobe is spinning, doing its thing. But it doesn't matter what the lobe is doing because nothing's controlling the pressure. All right. So this is the injector opening. If anything, pressure should go down.
It does, though, just a slight amount. And then when right there at the first collapse, because this is direct injection, I'm guessing this is a Bosch style injector. So right at the end of the whole point, there is the spot. I'm seeing pressure spike when the injector closes.
Annotate.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So I'm seeing open time, which is, if you can cursor me up right there. What are we looking at here?
Sorry.
Probably 0.2, 0.3, hopefully, because that'd be about what we normally see with direct injection. Right there, yeah. 293 microseconds. Yeah. 0.2. Okay. So
actually, open time is really here.
Well, but that's not complete because we only have the one side of the circuit. If you get the other voltage for it, the other voltage control, right here should be our first close event because it's almost like a multi-strike injector.
That's exactly what it is, yeah.
And that's where we see our spike in pressure because the injector slams closed and fuel pressure spikes, which is why, like, if you look at some more over-engineered Asian systems from like the 90s, they had fuel pressure regulators and fuel pressure dampeners because of this spike in pressure when it happens on any kind of shared rail. which is exacerbated with high pressure. So if we look at what's our, well, you just have voltage here, right? So I don't have a linear scale in front of me for voltage to pressure on a fuel rail pressure sensor, but I would venture to guess that delta of 0.1 volts when we're talking about a fuel rail system that's running. How much PSI at idle is this thing normally running? 600?
Yeah, 3 to 6, something like that.
3 to 6?
It's usually 30 to 60 par.
0.1. So in a scale of 1.1, so we're talking 50 PSI change right there of delta, 30 to 50. And then this is the rest. So if we got the other side of the voltage equation, because this is just one side of the injector, this event right here is not really an open, it's a shutter to create a dampening effect with the injector. But as you can see, there's still a 30-ish PSI spike. I'm guessing here based on, a 0 to our 3 to 600 is somewhere at 1.24 volts. And we've got a spike to about 1.3. Oh, mouse is hard to make that. There we go.
It's even worse.
That's way worse.
Well, it comes down to scaling. If you look at each time the pressure is building, it's not a huge thing you're seeing here.
Right.
And
So
each
it's
time
in
an injector
0.1.
opens, it's probably going to drop less on one injector opening than it is going to build pressure.
Right, because the injector orifice is real small, and we have this bleed off over a period of time, over this period of time, and then we have a slam closed, which is a little different of an event.
And also keep in mind where that fuel rail pressure sensor is located within the rail. That makes a big difference.
In correlation to this one injector event.
Yes.
So if we move to an injector right next to the fuel pressure regulator, we'll see this kind of spike up here.
All right. So
what we'll do is we'll go over here. The receiver is going to come around from the bottom. And
well, hold on. Hey, Keith, do me a favor. Erase your stuff.
No, keep it up, please.
No, seriously.
Yeah, no. I got you.
I got you.
I mean, I can erase, I guess. There we go. Oh, there's just a clear button at the top too.
Projection what we were talking about earlier, but it's all good.
But this is getting nerdy after the fact. We're trying to figure out a way to diagnose these issues.
It's a balance of ups and downs.
Well, then that's the next step I'm going to go from here is once Chris goes back to his, I've got a question here, but is this screen sharing right now?
Yeah, I see a snap-on screen.
Okay. So what we got here is this large pressure spike here, if you can see my mouse.
Yeah.
So that's actually on number one injector. It's a 4-cylinder, 4 or 5, I don't remember which, 5-cylinder diesel. This is on number one injection line. It was basically a rudimentary common rail system. We've got this huge pressure spike here. Yet within this, we still have smaller pressure spikes we can see for each continuing injector.
And one dead hole.
Down to the... What's that?
And one dead hole, it looks like.
Yeah, that one was actually a almost completely clogged injector. It had I shouldn't say clogged. It had a sticking pintle seat. But what we can see here is kind of what I didn't have the opportunity for on this one because it was mechanically injected, is if you were to take on a fuel rail, take this same pressure waveform, which you could use, you could actually use a 3-axis sensor from like Pico's NVH kit, put it on your fuel rail.
You could use a NOx sensor.
Yeah, you could definitely use that as well. GM NOx sensor, one of the most sensitive ones, would probably be best.
Yep. I got like 5 of them with pigtails on them, and then I got like hose clamps to put little eyelets and clamps on them. I've got all kinds of, I use them for everything.
From there, if you were to correlate these pressure vibrations within the rail to the fuel rail pressure sensor, along with the other traces you had, I think you could dial in a lot closer. And before Chris jumps back into that capture, I'm going to say, all this is cool, all this is fun, we can do a lot of R&D with it. Can we take this information, reverse engineer the system, understand it better, and is there scan data available that we can then take what we're learning from our scope captures and kind of pull more out of the scan data that's available? I don't know. I'm
Hey, Hans, what motor did you say it was?
CPM. PPMA Volkswagen or
So I
PPMA.
open up in Pico 6, that makes sense. And
Yes.
we're gonna go over here. So what I did is I put the rotational rulers on
That's
and I'm marking
way
out
less. That's way less real estate, Chris.
Brian, Bryn, that is a private conversation and nobody's gonna get that
0.6%.
inside joke.
0.6%.
Look how much less there is on the screen. Okay. But so what I did is I put the rotational rulers on. It's a 4-cylinder engine. So do we see anything that? And also this is we're bumped up 8 times the vertical resolution just to
Yeah.
see anything. So I guess you have pressure rises here while you're being controlled, because the down here this is the control, right? So we do have pressure rises while it's being controlled, but do we have pressure falling? So let's go. Let's see.
So I guess that's what I was trying to get at, Chris, is you do have slight pressure. I'm pointing at the screen like anybody can see me, but you do have slight pressure drops there. But
There we go.
You got to keep in mind the pulsations for the other injectors are kind of overriding some of that. So
the other injectors are over here. So just this particular injector.
Yeah, but you're still going to have within that common rail, you're still going to have all sorts of interactions as things are opening and closing, pressure backing up.
Yep.
Yeah, and so it would almost be, I can guarantee somebody who can actually do math other than 2 + 2 = 5 could figure out a math channel to figure out the differential between them, to where you could go a little more usable with a single fuel rail pressure sensor signal. But there's a lot going on in there. There's a lot of fluid dynamics there. I mean, you're getting down into the shape, the diameter, the overall length, pressure pulsations. I mean, Coriolis flow. There's a lot of crazy stuff here.
So what you're saying is don't waste your time.
I'm not saying don't waste your time. I'm saying if you were to continue doing this and take, honestly, an 8-channel scope would be ideal for this, where you really start delving in and looking at the interrelations with everything. But yeah, I mean, I've been playing with basically, for lack of a better term, the vibration, harmonics, noise of hydraulic systems, which fuel systems would fall under. There's so many variables down to the diameter and the bend radius of your fuel system that throws different harmonics in and will screw with your fuel pressure, your rebounding, everything else. It gets complicated.
I think in this case too, if we had current, it would help us to really hone in a little better.
But I think you guys, that's almost too much, because what I want to know.
Yeah, I understand what you're doing, and it makes sense.
I want to know how I can use this information to fix a car.
Yeah.
Right. I think Chad brought up a good
that's what I want to
question in the chat is, how long does it take to pull a valve cover on this car?
This car, it's not advisable.
Yeah.
It's 4 hours.
Yeah, that's why that's why I asked what engine it was, because I went to go look it up.
Well, yeah.
And I was like, oh yeah, no.
The valve cover is the cam bearing. You don't want to do it. It's not advisable.
Now you could do an in-cylinder and have a known good in-cylinder to compare timing to.
See, and what I was doing is that what I was just trying to see if there was a way to look for a clogged injector by looking at this. Of course, this car was perfectly fine. There was no problems.
Like Hans was saying though, this particular sensor just produces a noisy waveform.
On this particular car, it does, but on the later model, the CMP engine, it does not. It looks really nice. And so I need to experiment more with both.
How accessible are the injector pigtails on this engine?
Under the intake, it's the only way you're getting in there is on the main plug.
I still say for Hans that using injection timing is horribly inaccurate.
Yeah, and that's why I'm asking people about this, because I don't.
I would correlate. I would look at fuel rail pressure to.
But he's not looking at injection timing, is he? He's looking at pressure built in the fuel
rail. Yeah, but what he's comparing it to. So we can easily correlate pressure build to lobe, right? That's pretty simple if you just get a known, even if the pressure point of increase is not timed with the lobe, it doesn't matter if the relationship to what you're looking at is always the same. The problem is the relationship between
ignition
spark timing to the pressure build will not always be the same, even on the same engine.
I agree with that.
So that's why I say I would correlate the fuel rail pressure rise to CKP, because the relationship between since the exhaust on the CMP motor is not VVT'd, I would try to correlate the fuel pressure to the crankshaft, because those two will always have a static relationship on that engine.
I agree.
Now, maybe a stupid question here. So, coming from the diesel world,
actually, no, they won't. Perkins.
Yeah, I was going to say. So, at times when you're playing with injection timing on this, right?
Yeah,
aren't you going to open your control valves or close them for varying lengths of time and all? So if you wanted to build more pressure, wouldn't you close off? To overly simplify it, wouldn't you close off your rail relief? In which case you would see a more distinct rise in pressure.
Yeah, I was just going to say,
if you're coming into a decel event, or letting off throttle, whatever else, then you would open that up longer, in which case you're going to see distinct differences within that fuel rail pressure signal based off of whether it's trying to build or dump pressure to get to where it needs to be.
I was just going to say, if you needed a more distinct pressure rise to determine where the lobe is on the cam, and you can, if it's the type of system where you could simply unplug it to where it's going to create peak pressure of those lobes, that might be helpful. But on a Pico, when you can vertically enhance the capture anyways, I don't even know if that's necessary. Probably not. Just ramp it up.
As far as going back to the looking for a clogged injector or something like that, my first thing is, if there is some way I can disable one injector, I don't care how I have to do it. If I got a D-pin to connector, if I got to cut a wire, well, I'll cut a wire if it's one of mine, not a customer's, but or we get enough scrapyard cars in here, I can do that.
I cut wires all the time.
Yeah, if I can disable one injector, I mean, that's the ultimate clogged injector, right?
Mm-hmm.
One that's not doing a pressure drop at all. So if I can simulate an injector that's not dropping at all, then I can kind of work backwards from there and do some tests. And then, like Hans was saying, let's take that a step further. So let's get a known good, let's get a known bad with 1, 2, 3, whatever, bad injectors or injectors not dropping. And let's start to correlate what we're seeing on the scope with system operation and scan data, and see if we can kind of build a overall picture of what we're doing. It's not easy. I mean, I kind of wish, it sounds stupid and maybe there is a way to do this, but I really wish I could take, a freaking J-Box or a Mongoose cable, whatever, and correlate some generic scan data or even enhanced data into scope captures as an additional reference or trigger point. I think that'd be pretty freaking cool.
You want to see amperage? I did have amperage. Yeah, we're getting it's almost 11:30, guys.
Oh, it's early yet. I got another 4 or 5 hours before bed.
I'm with you. I just started.
It's 9 o'clock here. I don't know what you guys are talking about.
I know. I was like, it's 10:14. It's not that big a deal.
I don't know. My experience is this test on port fuel injection or GDI has not yielded me the information I'd like. The other part of it too is GDI vehicles are usually pretty late model, and there's some strategies there. You know, if there is a misfire on a cylinder and you're trying to chase it by monitoring pressure drop on the fuel rail to see if it's an injector issue, there may be like a strategy in place right now where the on time is a tiny bit different. I don't know. It'd be at that point you'd have to key cycle it and monitor it immediately to see if there's something that, where it's something that changes over a few engine revolutions to adjust for something.
And I'm looking at this for timing.
Yeah.
Because if the lobe spins on the camshaft, that really turns into a no start.
Mm-hmm.
If it turns into a no start, there's no feedback from the exhaust cam.
Yeah, how do you know what moved if it's not being
monitored? And I get where you're coming from, Hans. I agree. I just coming kind of coming back to Chris, was looking at rail pressure to determine if there's an injector flow issue or something like that. I think it's cool, and I think it sometimes might be helpful. But in my experience, it's been I've chased rabbits down holes using that stuff.
So really, so what we're looking at is we got to kind of try to figure out the threshold between normal operation with a misfire, low power, whatever it may be, where a straight out no start is really we don't need to go way off into the weeds and be able to do this injector is 13% more clogged, more stiction than this one. So let's see, how would we be able to take a known good and force it into a known bad situation like a no start then?
We'll find that out next time.
Vice grips.
Yeah. We'll find that out next time.
Vice grip
Hopefully not.
Vice grip the cam lobe and
So that's what I would say is the next known bad one you have where the exhaust cam did slip. That would kind of be where you would have to start looking at between known good and known bad and seeing where your threshold is.
Yeah.
But having a database
what year
of known
Volkswagen
good
is this?
I think it's
2008 is what Chris was looking at, I think.
Yeah, mine was an 08 GTI.
So I think I've got an 09 or 010 back in our impound lot that's getting ready to go to the scrapyard. So how hard would it be for me to force that cam to slip time?
Yeah, good luck.
A little bit of heat probably won't hurt.
Can I use a hammer?
Probably too much time.
Make sure you record this, please.
Yeah. Pull a high pressure fuel pump. Get your torch on it.
Yeah.
Heat up a little bit. And just crank it over.
Is there something I can do with a hammer, a torch, and possibly a pipe wrench?
Torch. Yeah.
I don't have to pull bolts or covers and all, right? I can just
use the torch to make clearance.
You just need to pull a pump.
All right. Well, once I get the title for that one, I'll play with it.
Guys, people are falling asleep. We gotta go.
I mean, to just cap it up, I think it's onto something. I think Keith's recommendation of using TKP is probably good. I think it's cool.
It's more
on that particular engine, it's pretty easy to pull the cover and take a look and measure your stretch. Again, we're getting back to that particular engine. It's 5 bolts. You take it off. You take a digital caliper. You measure chain stretch. And
that definitely makes a difference. Yeah.
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 That's that plastic thing right at the top, right? It just comes off really quick.
Cover. Yeah, 5 bolts, and there's literally a procedure you put on
that
top
leaks all the time. Anyways,
all the time.
You probably need to change it anyways.
Well, it leaks because it's got a bad breather, and then it's got a bad breather because it's got bad piston rings. But it's you pull the cover off, and it's really easy just to measure it at that point. But yeah, getting sidetracked.
Now, how do you measure crankcase pressure with a good breather on an engine that has bad piston rings?
You bypass the breather. So on this particular engine, you take off. What I do is I take off the big hose that goes into the breather, cap it with my thumb, cap the other side off. You need 2 people for this. Pull the oil cap off and let the car run. Put your hand about an inch above the oil hole and feel pressure hitting you in the hand. You got pressure hitting your hand, you need a bad engine, or you need an engine.
Have you tested that with the manometer yet?
No.
See what pressure comes out?
No. Like I said, I'm ghetto. At that point, there really shouldn't be anything there. So if you could do it with a piece of paper or whatever over, but I block up both sides so you're not putting any intake vacuum into the crankcase.
Obviously, some is acceptable, but it shouldn't blow.
That's why I said hold your hand about an inch above, and you'll feel it hitting you in the palm of your hand.
It shouldn't blow your hand off.
Exactly. And if you get to somebody rev it and just pushes your hand off, you got bad piston rings.
Cool. I like that.
It's an interesting point, though. These systems, those PCV systems, are so good they can mask some serious stuff.
Yeah.
Well,
that's why I asked.
I found bad breathers mask bad rings. So so you'll have bad rings. You'll counteract each other, and you'll have low crankcase vacuum. It'll look right. But you get weird lean codes and stupid shit like that. It'll look right. Your crankcase pressure
I've seen it. Normal. I had a BMW X5 that had 2 cylinders that were totally trash from catalyst material making its way back in. crazy blow by, but crankcase pressure was perfect because the
Mhm.
PCV systems are so good on them.
Yeah. So you'll get rings that are completely trashed, right? But you'll have a breather that's completely trashed, and so they even each other out, and you have it'll actually present itself. It'll be lower than normal intake vacuum. It'll be like almost nothing, where you should have a vacuum, and then that way you can tell, okay, you got two problems working together.
Yeah, I had a dead coil on a car that had an intake manifold leak at the same cylinder. I was like, I just added propane. I was like, hey, I fixed the filter. It's just got an intake manifold gasket leak.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whoops.
Whoops.
Underdiagnosed
that one. I should have just checked for spark like everybody else. Should have swapped the coil.
I just had my first rear main seal cause fuel trim issues.
Oh, yeah?
I've never
GM
experienced that
or
before.
Volkswagen?
It was a Volkswagen.
So that's like GM or Volkswagen, one of the two.
Yeah.
No, never.
I don't work on a lot of Volkswagens, but this was the first one.
Did you replace the breather, or are you going to be doing that rear main again?
Yes.
I like the Cobalts.
Cobalts, the Equinox, yeah.
5 valve covers later. I just don't understand why they keep going bad. Like, have you checked for TSPs? Or looked at the intake manifold design?
Right. Everybody's calling for this thing to end. We need to end this thing now.
Fine, and just leave.
Yeah,
Everybody.
no doubt, man. You don't have
They
to hang
are.
out.
Yeah,
They are.
Keith just got it. So.
Oh yeah, they are just leaving, huh?
Yeah, they are just leaving.
Looking
Yeah,
at the
yeah. Same.
Well, thanks for having me on. I'll
Yeah.
have something better next time.
No, that was
Yeah,
good.
awesome.
Well,
It was good
Well,
stuff.
Be prepared for next week. So.
I was listening to
2
you
weeks,
guys
2 weeks.
on
You
the
got
way
2 weeks.
back, and I did hear the Dapper Dan conversation. And,
You missed the good part in the beginning, I think.
I
Yeah,
know.
you're gonna
I'll have to
rewatch that
rewatch it.
yeah, I'll
you-
have to rewatch.
Yeah, you might have to.
Yeah, so I can find out who I'm going to get hate mail from tomorrow.
I wasn't even there.
Oh, don't
Yeah.
worry. We get in
Yeah,
trouble.
we don't
for-
even
for-
have to be there. We just have to know the person that was
Yeah,
there.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
get somebody that knows
We
us
get
to stand in
blamed
front
no
of a
matter
dormant
what.
sign. You get somebody we know stands in front of a dormant sign. It's our fault.
Oh wow.
No, you get somebody who's wearing one of our T-shirts, and suddenly they're our representative.
Right.
Yeah, guilt by association.
If anyone's wondering why
Now-
the name
now you
member
just
got
gave-
put on all of our shirts.
Now you just gave everybody some ideas.
Yep.
Yeah, now you know how to get us in trouble.
Well, I told you I wanted to end this a couple minutes ago. I'll start dropping names in a second.
No,
We should probably
now
go.
it's time to go. Good night.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. Good night, guys. Thanks.
Everybody
Right.
have a good evening.
Bye.
Thanks, everybody.
Good night, guys.
Later.